evacuations end. The threat's still out there. It's 3 p.m. Central in New Orleans, where police say forced evacuations are an option, but not one they're using, at least not yet. And stinging words about race and class and Katrina this hour. The always outspoken Democratic Party Chairman Howard Dean defends comments that the First Lady is calling disgusting. I'm Wolf Blitzer. You're in the Situation Room. The mission is critical, and now a U.S. Coast Guard commander is taking charge. Homeland Security Secretary Michael Chertoff announced it about 2 hours ago. Vice Admiral Thad Allen is replacing embattled FEMA Director Mike Brown as the on-site head of relief operations along the Gulf Coast. Brown is being sent back to Washington to oversee FEMA's national headquarters. In New Orleans, police say they still are not using force to evacuate holdouts from the city, but they say they will as a last resort. For now, they say they're using what they call persuasive negotiation. About 100 Louisiana National Guardsmen are now back home after serving for almost a year in Iraq. They lost 35 of their own during the mission overseas. Now they'll see firsthand what Hurricane Katrina took from them. The official Katrina death toll stands right now at 204 in Mississippi, 118 in Louisiana. Those numbers still expected to rise significantly. But a top official in New Orleans is saying right now that initial sweeps suggest fewer may have died than some of the most dire predictions of 10,000. Some progress toward recovery, at least right now. Authorities say the New Orleans airport will reopen to commercial flight on September 19th. And the last of 121 babies evacuated from New Orleans to the Women's Hospital in Baton Rouge are now back with their mothers. Mixed news on the federal disaster relief front, at least right now. Louisiana's Governor Kathleen Blanco says radio equipment and portable generators she requested from the federal government a week ago have not yet arrived. But almost $52 billion in federal disaster assistance is now in the pipeline after President Bush signed the legislation, rushed through Congress. He signed it last night. More now on that shakeup at FEMA and the fallout. Our CNN national correspondent Bob Franken is standing by at the White House. Our CNN congressional correspondent Ed Henry is up on Capitol Hill. Bob, let's start with you. What's the latest?
Well, Michael Brown had become a lightning rod for criticism, a lightning rod for charges that the people who ran FEMA, including him, were not really qualified to do so and were responsible, at least in part, for the disastrous reaction to Hurricane Katrina. So, Michael Chertoff, who is the Secretary of Homeland Security, has announced that Brown will be returned to Washington to run the Federal Emergency Management Agency, replaced on the ground by Thad Allen. Whether that amounts to a withdrawal of Michael Brown and a stepping down of his is for interpretation. Nevertheless, it is fair to say that Brown has had quite a change in his fates since he encountered President Bush just a week ago.
I want to thank you all for, and Brownie, you're doing a heck of a job. The FEMA director's working 24. They're working 24 hours a day.
I have directed Mike Brown to return to administering FEMA nationally, and I have appointed Vice Admiral Thad Allen of the Coast Guard as the principal federal official overseeing the Hurricane Katrina response and recovery effort in the field.
So Wolf, Brown will get a chance to do a heck of a job in a much less visible way back here in Washington. Wolf?
Bob, are you picking up anything on the president's thinking in this decision? What are you learning?
Well, we were hearing here at the White House that Brown had certainly become a distraction from the administration's efforts to regain or to gain credibility in response to Katrina. We're also told, reporting from CNN Chief National Correspondent John King and White House Correspondent Dana Bash, that a key was Vice President Cheney when he made his trip to assess the situation yesterday. He heard a litany of complaints about Brown. He talked to Chertoff. Chertoff also told him that he said there was a problem. In effect, Cheney said, handle it. and that's what Chertoff has done.
All right, Bob Franken over at the White House for us today. Democrats who wanted Mike Brown to be flat out fired still feel that way, at least many Democrats, too. Let's go up to Capitol Hill. Our congressional correspondent Ed Henry standing by with more. Ed?
Wolf, that's right. Democrats Nancy Pelosi and Harry Reid immediately said this is not good enough, that Michael Brown has to go. And even though the White House trotted out Secretary Chertoff to do the dirty work today, Senator Reid fired off a sharp letter to President Bush trying to draw the commander-in-chief directly into this, saying that he wants the immediate removal of Mike Brown. There's a practical reason for this take-no-prisoners attitude from the Democrats. They basically feel that if even the president is now acknowledging that Mike Brown was not up to the job on Hurricane Katrina, how could he handle another crisis? But clearly, there's also a political reason for this approach by the Democrats. They feel like the president has taken a hit. They're not about to let up, Wolf.
All right, Ed Henry reporting for us. Ed, thanks very much. Helicopter pilot J.T. Alpa has now resumed flying over New Orleans together with his excellent crew. Let's listen in briefly, see what they're getting today.
We came in behind the storm. We flew in behind Katrina for about 2 hours behind her, and with her, the 2 United States Coast Guard helicopters pulling people out. So this is the 17th Street Canal levee, which is doing quite well now. Because this levee has been shored up and sealed, the ability for them to start up those pumping stations and get that water down and into the lake has begun. Part of the problems, though, here is they have to get these levees shored, for one. Secondly, they need to get these powers to these pumping stations, electrical power, to get these waters out and back into the lake. So we're going to work our way east here towards the London Canal, where you see all those sandbags and those helicopters lifting and dropping, and see what the progress is so far this afternoon on the London Street Canal. A very large levee break in that area. Right now we're working our way east.
All right, while JT works his way over to that other location, we'll continue to show you the pictures he's bringing us from that helicopter, but we'll move to the streets of New Orleans right now. Police there are working to wrap up their hunt for holdouts who can be persuaded, at least they hope so, to leave the city voluntarily. But what happens next could get ugly, seeing as Jeff Koinange is in New Orleans for us with more on this part of the story. Jeff?
That's right, Wolf. It could really get ugly, and we saw it firsthand this morning. The power of persuasion doesn't seem to be working a lot in some areas. We went to several neighborhoods. You could see people literally sitting on their porches. When the law enforcement comes over, they try to talk to them. Many of them simply don't want to leave. Why? 2 reasons. One, a lot of them have pets. They don't want to leave their pets behind because they don't know wherever they are sent whether the pets will be allowed. 2, people have a lot of valuables in their homes. They're not confident that their homes will be secure once they leave, despite the fact that there's about 19,000 plus military and police personnel on the ground. Now, we spoke to the general in charge of the entire task force operation on the ground, Lieutenant General Russell Honore, and he compared this entire crisis to a football game.
What is the coach going to do at the end of the first quarter? Going to bring the quarterback in and disgrace him? And the wide receiver? Or are we going to focus on the other team? Because they're the ones who scored 25 points.
That's right, Wolf. The other team has 25 points, meaning the team on the ground is down for now. But according to the general, there's still a lot of time left in this game, and he's confident he can win the game, Wolf.
Very briefly, Jeff, where are you now? We see a sign behind you. Maybe your photographer can go wide a little bit and show our viewers what's happening where you are.
Very good. Emmanuel, if you just pan out a little bit and I'll step out of the shot. This is the famous Harrah's Casino, Wolf. This on any other day would have been probably one of the most popular landmarks right here in New Orleans, and that is a staging area for all the law enforcement people in town. What they do here, they come here, they grab a meal, grab a bottle of water, get a little respite, a little rest, and then go back out into their search and rescue missions. This part here, Wolf, is Operation Central. A lot of logistical operations going on here before crews go out 24/7. A lot of them from as far away as New York to California. We've seen seen troops and armed forces from Tennessee, from all over this country. 19,224 in all, working around the clock, Wolf, trying to bring a city back on its feet, Wolf.
All right, Jeff, thanks very much. We'll check back with you. I want to check back to JT Alpa, the helicopter reporter. He's got some interesting live pictures he's bringing right now. This looks like a helicopter. I saw on the side of that helicopter what looked like a star. Let's listen and see what JT is saying.
Quite often in the Los Angeles area. This is an H-3 helicopter that the sheriffs use quite often to go out and do a lot of medical rescue, special weapons and tactics training and deployment, a lot of search and rescue though. It's great to see them. Great to see them out in these areas. A multi-purpose helicopter the sheriffs use for a very wide area of Los Angeles County. Good to see them out here and doing what they do best, helping out with these relief efforts. LA County Sheriff's Air Rescue 5 here, this H-3 helicopter working its way through the Orleans Parish, coming into the lakefront area. Now he comes back down, and we're going to see what mission he may be on this afternoon. One of his crew members out the right side of the aircraft and searching these areas. And Captain D. Giovanna of LA County Sheriff's Department, heading up this unit, has a whole lot of personnel out here to help out with this disaster. It's good to see them. Don't know. You can see him scanning these areas as we work our way around the lakefront area. Going in tight here to show you the crew member. Not much. LA County Air Rescue 5 landing on a pad here.
All right, we'll continue to watch this California Sheriff's helicopter on the scene. We'll see what it's up to. We'll check back with JT Alpa shortly, but let's check in with CNN's Jack Cafferty right now. He's watching all of this. These are amazing shots we're getting from the helicopter, Jack.
Yeah, I'm just sitting here thinking it's almost like watching a video game. I mean, that's some of the most compelling pictures that you could imagine. Now the thing's sitting on the pad, but those low-flying shots where they're kind of skimming over the housetops and the treetops with all that water underneath them, that's great stuff. And this is the kind of stuff that you only get here on the Situation Room. So keep that in mind when you go clicking around with that remote. Nobody else gets stuff like this. Congress's approval yesterday of that emergency spending bill for Hurricane Katrina brings the total recovery cost so far to $62 billion, but that's not even a third of the estimated $200 billion that Katrina will eventually wind up costing all of us. Vice President Dick Cheney said yesterday tax increases will not be needed to pay for these massive reconstruction costs. He said the 2003 tax cuts helped to spur economic activity. Meantime, the White House budget chief says much more money will be needed in the months ahead. And he said the current spending bill will result in a larger than expected deficit, which is a pretty good size already. Do the math. Here's the question. Do we need a tax increase to pay for Hurricane Katrina? Cafferty files CNN.com, and we'll read some of your thoughts on that in about a half hour. Wolf?
All right, thanks very much, Jack. We're anxious to get our viewers' response to that question. Coming up, the FEMA director's forced evacuation right back to Washington. Is it a bold move for a president who usually stands by his team, or is it a cop-out? Our political analysts are on the case. We'll hear what they have to say. Plus, the race question. Democratic Party Chairman Howard Dean says Americans must face some ugly truths about the Bush administration's response to this disaster. My interview with Howard Dean, that's coming up this hour. And bittersweet reunions. Louisiana National Guardsmen returning from Iraq to a home base that looks like a war zone. You're in the Situation Room.
Hey guys, big news for men with ED. The Cialis Promise Program. Here's the deal. Try Cialis for the first time free. They're so confident you'll like Cialis. If you don't, they'll pay for a sample of the ED tablet of your choice. That's the Cialis Promise. Get details at Cialis.com. See how having up to 36 hours lets you choose when the moment is right. Cialis is only for men healthy enough for sexual activity. Do not take Cialis if you take nitrates for chest pain, as this may cause an unsafe drop in blood pressure. Don't drink alcohol in excess with Cialis. Side effects may include headache, upset stomach, delayed backache, or muscle ache. As with any ED tablet, men who experience an erection for more than 4 hours should seek immediate medical attention to avoid long-term injury. Discuss your health status and medications, including alpha blockers, with your doctor, and ask if Cialis is right for you. Discover the Cialis Promise Program. Are you ready?
Smart Balance Buttery Spread cooks, spreads, and tastes like real butter without the cholesterol and high saturated fat. And Smart Balance just received another Best Taste Award. So for real butter taste and the right balance, enjoy Smart Balance.
There's an even better way to care for your nest egg. Objective financial advice. A.G. Edwards. For 118 years, fully invested in our clients.
Thinking of an MBA? Join us on the World MBA Tour, coming to a city near you. Register now at topmba.com.
Mattress World's made a special purchase.
Right now, get a Sealy Firm Plush or Pillow Top Queen Set for just $3.99.
That's right, a Sealy Firm Plush or Pillow Top Queen Set for just $3.99.
Also get no interest, no payments for 1 full year.
Quantities are limited. When they're gone, they're gone. We can't beat any price on any comparable mattress, and the mattress is free.
It's not too late to sleep like a baby. Mattress World.
Mattress World, 185th and Cornell, next to Burger King.
React, respond, create and then move on.
Stop viruses. Stop spyware. Stop paying extra. Because Comcast high-speed internet service includes McAfee pop-up blocker, antivirus, and parental controls, free. Comcast and McAfee. All you need to protect your privacy and your family. Call 1-888-COMCAST today.
Remarkable new 9/11 stories and all new CNN Sunday night 8 Eastern.
Critics wanted FEMA Director Mike Brown to be fired. Instead, he's being replaced in the disaster zone, but he still gets to keep his job back here in Washington, at least for now. We're joined by our senior political analyst, Bill Schneider, and our political analyst, Carlos Watson. Bill, I'll start with you, and I want to tell our viewers they're seeing on the left part of the screen over here live pictures coming in from helicopter pilot J.T. Alpa and his crew. We'll continue to show our viewers these pictures. But, Bill, what do you make of the way the White House is handling the Mike Brown question?
Well, Wolf, it's a concession, really, by the president to his critics. He doesn't do that very often. But what he's conceding is, yes, things did not go well. And a lot of Americans say, well, duh. The polls are overwhelmingly in agreement that this has not gone well. Whose fault it is, who should be blamed, that's another question. But there is certainly agreement this has not gone well. It's been tragically mishandled by government at all levels. And the president here has really made a concession to his critics.
Bill makes a good point, Carlos, that this is not typical of George W. Bush in the middle of a crisis to sort of cast one member aside in the aftermath of some of the failures in the Iraq War, no weapons of mass destruction. I don't remember individuals being removed.
Certainly not. In fact, when you compare this president to Bill Clinton, or you compare him to his father, President Bush, or even Ronald Reagan, all of whom made fairly substantial changes in the midst of crises, this president has been fairly steadfast, particularly to those he thought was loyal. Although it's worth remembering that maybe this underscores the fundamental rule of the Bush presidency, which is that neither the Democrats nor, frankly, the media are ultimately able to change George Bush's policies. Whenever you see him change policies in a major way, it's typically because of families, whether they're the 9/11 families, the family of Iraqi soldiers, or in this case, the families of those in New Orleans. Those are ultimately the only people who you see him fundamentally swerve in a major way, and that's certainly in part because he ultimately sees a lowering in his ratings, not among Republicans as much, but among independents.
Bill, I'm going to be speaking shortly with the Democratic Party Chairman, Howard Dean. He's always outspoken, as both of you guys know, and so many of our viewers know as well. Do the Democrats have a risk, though, right now in overplaying their hand, going too far right now in the midst of the president's problems?
Well, there is a risk for Democrats, but look, the Democrats' position is they're outraged when Republicans say you're playing the blame game. What they say is this is not the blame game. What we're talking about is accountability. Government officials should be held accountable. The risk they're taking really is one of timing. First questions first. The first question that people want answered is what went wrong? After that, you get to another question. Whose fault is it? And then a third question. Who should be fired? Democrats have to keep those questions in order.
Carlos, stand by for one moment, but keep that thought. I just want to show our viewers, tell our viewers what we're seeing. This is a part of New Orleans right now that was underwater. It's drying up right now. First time we've seen those images. It's an encouraging sign, to be sure. But Carlos, what about that question about Democrats overplaying their hand?
It's certainly possible. Remember, one of the significant factors as we play this out over 6 or 12 or 24 months is that the president and the Congress are likely to spend $100 to $200 billion. And so while there are a lot of bad stories in this first wave and the first two waves, the president is going to have the stage and hopefully some moments that will be a lot better, where water is cleared, where electricity is restored, where some of the residents return and kids start going back to school. And if Democrats are seen only as complaining, that certainly could be a real risk. The other thing, Wolf, by the way, that I would mention is that while the president had the advantage today of, if you will, putting the blame on a member of his team, the mayor and the governor may not be so lucky and may, in fact, need themselves, as this story continues to unfold, look for someone also to speak to in terms of some of the troubles in coping with the issues.
Carlos and Bill, thanks to both of you. Thank you very much. And we'll have more on the political fallout from Katrina. Howard Dean speaking out about the president's hurricane performance. The Democratic Party chairman joins me here in the Situation Room. That conversation coming up next.
Howdy, Patro.
Feel 25 years of Quattro all-wheel drive in the Audi A6. Take a test drive today.
Can you tell the difference between these pet medications? They're the same brand, but this medication costs a lot less and is delivered right to my door. That's the 1-800-PET-MEDS difference. Great savings, fast service, free shipping. Order now.
TNT Sunday. This summer's most explosive new series is all new. Don't miss the show critics call a supercharged testosterone fest. Wanted. The chase continues Sunday night at 10 on TNT.
When so many little things go wrong, it's good to know some of the big things won't. The nice thing about the HP Pavilion Notebook with Intel Centrino mobile technology isn't just its price. It's the peace of mind you get for the price. Like a warranty that's longer than most. Support with industry-leading response time. And tech help that actually helps. Get a computer and a company you can count on. Call by September 17th to get an HP Pavilion Notebook with Intel Centrino mobile technology, just $899. Order now and get a free second battery and free shipping. Or ask about other notebooks with Intel processor starting at $529 after rebates. Too bad everything isn't backed with this much support. HP Pavilion Notebooks. Brilliantly simple.
They are the innocent, the vulnerable, but also the strongest and most resilient. They are the children of the storm. Tonight, hear their stories of loss, courage, and hope. A Paula Zahn special, CNN Tonight, 8 Eastern.
Now at CNN.com, finding loved ones in the aftermath of Katrina. See rescues and reunions on free video, plus how you can help, donate, or volunteer. Complete coverage on Katrina evacuees. Now at CNN.com.
Here's a look at some of the hot shots coming in from our friends over at the Associated Press. Pictures likely to be in your hometown newspapers tomorrow. In Hanoi, members of the Vietnamese Red Cross donate money for victims of Hurricane Katrina. In Slidell, Louisiana, a man carries what's left of his belongings. In Houston, Danielle West and her daughter Justice wait for a ride to the airport. After living for a week in the Astrodome, they're traveling to their new home in New York. And in the Algiers section of New Orleans, check this out. A man cooks pork ribs on an outdoor grill. Many residents have ignored officials and refused to evacuate the city. Zane Vergy is joining us once again from the CNN Center in Atlanta with a closer look at some other stories making news. Hi, Zane.
Hi, Wolf. The United States is saying thanks, but no thanks to Cuba's offers of assistance in the Katrina relief effort. But some Cuban doctors are still hoping they'll be used. Today, the group of 1,500 said they hope that politics will be put aside. The doctors are taking English language classes just in case. Cuba's Fidel Castro has offered to fly the doctors to the U.S. In Washington today, Iraq's President Jalal Talabani says he believes U.S. troops could be reduced in Iraq within 2 years. Mr. Talabani's comments came during a briefing with Defense Secretary Donald Rumsfeld. Rumsfeld responded by saying any talk of future U.S. military presence in Iraq should wait until a new Iraqi constitution is created and a new government's in place. Also in Iraq, an American hostage rescued and freed on Wednesday is now heading home to the U.S. The U.S. military says Roy Hallam's left Balad Air Base in northern Iraq on a military plane today. He had been a hostage for 10 months before he was found in a farmhouse just south of Baghdad. A federal appeals court has ruled that the U.S. government can keep Jose Padilla behind bars without charging him. Padilla, a U.S. citizen, is accused of plotting with al-Qaeda to detonate a dirty bomb in the United States. He was declared an enemy combatant, and he's been detained without charges since 2002. Wolf?
Zane, thanks very much. We'll check back with you shortly. From some tough talk coming up from Howard Dean, directed at President Bush. My conversation with the Democratic Party chairman, that's coming up next. But also, from the war zone to the disaster zone, Louisiana National Guard troops returning home to help friends and family deal with the devastation. We'll go live to Alexandria, Louisiana for some bittersweet reunions. Much more here in the Situation Room. Right after.
Ditech.com can save you thousands of dollars in closing costs.
This is our third refinancing, and I told my husband, let me pick the finance company, because before we were paying too much for closing costs. So we went with Ditech this time with their $395 flat fee program for refi, and there was no hidden fees, no hidden charges, and we paid just that.
Get a flat fee home loan from Ditech.com. The total lender fee is just $395. Log on or call 1-800-DITECH3.
Privacy, equality, the right to choose. Fundamental freedoms Americans have cherished for generations. But John Roberts dismisses one of our established liberties as the so-called right to privacy, and co-wrote a brief arguing that Roe v. Wade should be overruled. Roberts' legal record raises questions on whether he accepts the right to privacy. There's just too much at stake to let John Roberts become a decisive vote on the Supreme Court.
This looks great.
Thanks.
What was that?
Oh, it's my TV. It sucks.
It sucks?
The bill, the customer service, my TV sucks big time.
Wow, it sucks hard.
Your TV doesn't suck?
No, I have Dish Network. Low monthly bill, awesome service. I even got a free DVR.
Huh. Maybe we should switch to Dish Network.
Yeah, you might want to get on that.
Join today and get 25 movie channels free, plus 1 month free service. Dish Network, better TV for all.
The aftermath of Katrina, the Roberts confirmation hearings. Monday, starting at 12 noon Eastern. CNN reports live from the Situation Room with Wolf Blitzer on these critical news developments. CNN Monday, 12 noon.
Our White House correspondent Dana Bash is getting some new information on the decision to bring FEMA Director Michael Brown back to Washington from Louisiana. What are you picking up, Dana?
Hi, Wolf. Well, I just came from a small briefing with a senior administration official who gave us a little bit more information about the president and his knowledge of this or involvement of this. Essentially, what this official said is that it was Wednesday morning here at the White House that Secretary Chertoff was here in a bigger meeting on the situation in the region, talking about the cleanup. He then met with the president privately. In that meeting, Secretary Chertoff told the president that he is considering some change in leadership at FEMA on the ground. And what we are told is the president said to him, it's your decision. He said, you need to make that decision. You need to assess what you need on the ground. Then we are told Secretary Chertoff was, of course, back in the region yesterday, Thursday, having meetings, an abundance of meetings, including with the vice president. Vice President Cheney, of course, was down in the region. And now we know separately, as we've been reporting, that the vice president was also in meetings, hearing an earful about the problems with FEMA, about the problems they thought that they'd heard about Michael Brown. And it was later in the day on Thursday night, essentially, that Secretary Card got a call from that the Chief of Staff got a call from the Homeland Security Director saying, we've decided to make a decision. And then Andy Card, the President's Chief of Staff, told the President that Michael Brown essentially was going to be out.
Dana, hold that thought for just a moment. I want to show our viewers these live pictures that J.T. Alpa and his crew aboard this helicopter are flying over. Let's listen in very briefly, Dana, and then we'll resume this conversation.
Showing you what appears to be some fiberglass boats or trailers burning in a yard, so not a structure. The fire helicopters have been notified, and this may be something that they would fight from some of these Firehawk helicopters with the sling loads. Okay, we're trying to get a better locator here for you to give you some street names, but.
All right, we'll continue to watch this fire down in the Gulf Coast. Dana Bash, our White House correspondent. Did you get an answer, Dana, why they simply decided not to force his resignation or ask for his resignation, or why didn't he offer to resign under fire that he's been, Michael Brown?
Look, the bottom line in talking to the White House today, Wolf, is that they understood full well that this was a problem, that they were hearing it from the locals, that they were hearing it from even Republican lawmakers, that Michael Brown, they did not think was essentially doing an adequate job. And it was Secretary Chertoff who told the White House late last night that he was going to come back to Washington. The question about whether or not he offered a resignation altogether, we asked that question and we were told that the president did not get that request. And of course, the president, as we know, did not ask Michael Brown to step down. As a matter of fact, they are keenly aware here of the fact that Democrats are saying that it is critical for Mike Brown to be fired. And they are essentially saying that that is something that is being politicized. And a senior official said that critics of the president should take into consideration that kind of call, especially for members of the other party, typically works against them. So at this point, Wolf, they're saying that Mike Brown is not going to be fired. And they say he is going to be coming back here to Washington to deal with whatever else goes forward. and questions about whether or not he is able to do that. They point to some glowing reports of what Mike Brown did after some hurricanes in Florida. They still say that he has the credentials, they say, and is able to deal with whatever could come in the future. But clearly, he's not able, they think, at this point, to deal with what's going on the ground right now.
Our White House correspondent, Dana Bash, thank you very much. This hour in storm-ravaged Louisiana, a special homecoming for National Guardsmen, but not the one they once imagined. CNN's Ed Lavendera is in Alexandria, Louisiana, and he's got word on what's going on. A remarkable development there. Ed, update our viewers who don't know what has just happened there.
Well, it's cleared out behind me now, Wolf, but just a short while ago, the first wave of soldiers from this Louisiana National Guard unit returned from Iraq after a year-long duty. Their return pushed up early by several weeks because of Hurricane Katrina, and one of those affected by the storm, Sergeant Kevin Doyle.
A good friend of mine, Lee Godbold, he was another sergeant. I lost him in combat. And, you know, we all left together, and we're not all coming back together, you know, and with everything back home and everything, back home, back here, it's just a lot's going through all of our minds right now. You know, it's tough transition from a combat zone and then coming over here. I'm very happy, you know, and we're all happy, don't get me wrong, but it's a lot. Yeah, it's a lot of us had plans on doing this, going to our favorite restaurant, and we can't do that anymore. You know, a lot of us have been planning in our minds what we're going to do when we go home, and now I have to do it in Texas. But at least I have my family. At least I have my family. That's all that counts.
I had 30 pounds of shrimp, 2 big containers of seafood gumbo, 2 big containers of crawfish bisque, all for Kevin.
How many tamales?
My nan made 200 homemade hot tamales, and we lost the electricity, so we lost, of course, all the food, so everything's gone, but
we can make it again.
But we can make it again.
Wolf, you know what, the Army is offering some of these soldiers, those that have been directly affected by the storm, and that goes up to about 500 of these soldiers. They're being given 2 weeks off to be able to get their personal affairs in order. And then, if they want to remain active duty, if they've lost their job, they're also being offered a job here in the state of Louisiana to continue working as an active duty soldier. Wolf?
Ed Lavendera on the scene for us. Ed, thanks very much. A bittersweet homecoming for these troops, National Guardsmen coming home from Iraq to Louisiana, about to get working in Louisiana as well. Coming up next, the First Lady, Laura Bush, says it isn't so. But was there a connection involving race, class, and the pace of disaster relief? Up next, the DNC chairman, Howard Dean, taking on that question and mincing no words. You're in the Situation Room.
In a straight sprint, most performance cars perform equally well. But the world isn't straight, which is why the Audi A4 is available with Quattro all-wheel drive. Feel the power and control of 25 years of Quattro in the Audi A4. Take a test drive today.
How many days is 3 weeks?
21.
Won't you miss your room?
A little bit.
Won't you miss Rocky?
You know what I'm gonna miss the most?
What?
This face.
Mr. Buckley, welcome to Residence Inn.
Residence Inn. All suites with all the comforts.
Sir, why are we meeting in the shower?
Well, ideas always hit me in my shower at home. And our first store opens next week, so any ideas?
FedEx Kinko's. For signs, banners, printing invitations, even shipping.
Wow, this shower thing really does work.
FedEx Kinko's. Make it, print it, pack it, ship it.
In 1932, during the darkest days of the Great Depression, the first Stanford company was established. Although times were difficult, Lotus Stanford found success through the simple philosophy of hard work, clear vision, and value for the client. Today, 73 years later, the Stanford Financial Group of companies still adhere to these principles. We build to last. Call us at 1-888-9-STANFORD or visit stanfordfinancial.com.
Many Democrats have been quick to pounce on the federal government's response to Hurricane Katrina, with some suggesting relief might have come more quickly. So many victims had not been black and poor. Democratic Party Chairman Howard Dean jumped into that debate earlier this week, urging Americans to face what he called some ugly truth. I spoke with the former Vermont governor just a short while ago. Governor Dean, thanks very much for joining us. Welcome to the Situation Room.
Thanks for having me on, Wolf.
Let's get to some comments you made Wednesday night. I'm going to play a soundbite, an excerpt of what you said, then get your explanation. Listen to this.
Sure. Survivors are being evacuated, and as the order is restored and the water is, we sort through the rubble, we have to come to terms with the ugly truth that skin color, age, and economics played a significant role in who survived and who did not.
All right, so what did you mean when you said skin color, age, and economics played a significant role?
I meant the same thing that Colin Powell meant when he talked about this issue. I like to try to look for some good in every horrible tragedy. This gives us an opportunity to look at an issue that's been swept under the rug for the last 20 or 30 years since the Civil Rights Movement, and that is that if you are poor, if you are black, if you are old, you disproportionately suffered in this disaster. And that means that we need to have a national discussion, which a lot of people have been talking about, but nobody's really led us on, about poverty and race in America.
Well, do you believe the response from the federal government, the Bush administration specifically, the President of the United States, that there were racist or racial overtones in that response?
No, I don't think so. What I do think, however, is that the way our society has worked in the last 20 years, or actually a lot longer than that, but in the last 20 years when nobody's been talking about it, is in fact that those below the top 20% in America, white, black, and brown, have been significantly disadvantaged. The average income in this country went down $1,700 since George Bush has been president for everybody under the top 20%. 80% of Americans saw their income drop. There is something the matter with a country that does not want to talk about what's good for 80% of the people and focuses on what's great for 20% of the people.
Some, as you know, critics of the president, Kanye West, the rap artist, for example, have accused him of being a racist. I want you to listen to what the First Lady, Laura Bush, said last night. Listen to this.
I think all of those remarks were disgusting, to be perfectly frank, because, of course, President Bush cares about everyone in our country. And I know that. I mean, I'm the person who lives with him. I know what he's like, and I know what he thinks, and I know how he cares about people.
Do you agree with the First Lady?
No. I do not think that this president cares about everybody in America. I'm sure the president is a nice man on a personal level. His policies have been devastating to middle class and poor people in this country, white, black, and brown. The people who were affected in this disaster, the people who are holed up in the Astrodome, look at the kinds of things that have been said about them. Look at what the Republican representative from Louisiana said this morning in the Wall Street Journal, that finally God has gotten rid of or has cleaned up the public housing in New Orleans. It's not enough to be a nice guy. I'm not disputing the fact that the president's a nice man, and it's maybe even compassionate in his personal life. The truth is that Americans have suffered deeply under this presidency, 80% of Americans, and that black people, Hispanic people, poor people, and old people have suffered disproportionately.
So I just want to press you on this. You can't blame the president for what some Republican congressman says.
I think there's an indifference in the Republican Party towards people who aren't at the very top of the income level. Their whole tax policy has shown that. How about this? Bill Frist, the chairman, or the leader of the Republicans in the Senate, his first thing he wanted to do when he got back after Hurricane Katrina struck in the United States Senate, the first thing he wanted to do is extend the estate tax exemption. $750 billion. I think it's time for moral decision-making in America. Let's ask the American people, if the Republicans believe there's $750 billion of extra change lying around, do you want that to go to 3,000 families who are going to benefit from an additional reduction in the estate tax, or shall we reinvest that in rebuilding not just New Orleans, but in rebuilding, and not just Mississippi, school systems in Chicago, jobs for North Dakota and South Dakota? The life of middle-class people has suffered enormously in the last 5 years because there were wrong moral decisions made by this government.
You made a very powerful, serious charge against the President of the United States that he doesn't care about everyone in this country.
I believe that's true, because look at his policies. It doesn't matter what they say, it matters what they do. Americans have suffered under this presidency. 80% of them's income gone down on average of $1,700.
You blame the president, the FEMA, the executive branch of the U.S. government, the Bush administration for doing a horrible job in the immediate aftermath of this disaster.
I don't think the president personally did a horrible job. The president didn't seem to be informed. I think he had incompetent people working for him. Michael Brown, this has become a national joke.
Well, what about
not only did he, apparently according to Time magazine now this morning, he's falsified his credentials to get the job. The president still won't fire him. What is it about this president who has people like Karl Rove, who gave away the identity of a CIA agent in time of war, who has people like Michael Brown working for him, that he won't fire him? These people ought not to be working for anybody, never mind the government of the United States of America.
Well, what about the Democratic governor of Louisiana and the Democratic mayor of New Orleans? How much responsibility should they have for what happened to those poor people who suffered so much in the immediate aftermath of those levees collapsing?
Wilf, as you know, I was governor for almost 12 years. I think we had 7 or 9 emergencies during that time, states of emergency, under 3 presidents. And I can tell you that what you need when there's an emergency is the National Guard. The National Guard was in Iraq.
Well, the equipment a third of the National Guard troops in Louisiana were approximately
right.
were in Iraq.
And the equipment was in Iraq.
But there were at least 1,000 school buses in New Orleans. And none of them were mobilized to get poor people, old people, people who didn't have cars out of that city as that hurricane Category 5 was building up steam in the Gulf of Mexico. Mm-hmm. Who should have ordered those school buses to get drivers and start driving people who don't have cars out of the city?
That's an easy criticism to make, because beforehand you can blame everybody. You can blame the last 4 or 5 presidents
for not. Wasn't that the responsibility of the mayor or the governor?
Unless you tell people what the sequence is, I can't answer that question. You have to tell me that the sequence was that the hurricane was known to be going to hit New Orleans directly, which it didn't, and that those buses weren't underwater, and that the people who were supposed to be driving them didn't have.
On Saturday and Sunday, there was no water in New Orleans.
Right,
and that was the hurricane hit Monday morning.
You're holding the mayor.
On Friday, they knew this could potentially hit New Orleans, and that it could be a Category 4 or 5.
You're holding the mayor to a different standard. As this is Republican spin machine stuff. You're holding the mayor to a different standard than you're holding FEMA.
No, I think there's plenty of responsibility to go around. There were screw-ups, and people's lives were cost as a result of it. I'm just pointing out that not only a Republican administration, but democratically elected Democratic politicians also screwed up.
Everybody screwed up in terms of getting the pre-positioning stuff. Nobody did that. Not the federal government, not the state government, not the local government. The job of FEMA is to come in after the fact immediately. When you have the head of FEMA talking on national television saying they had no idea people were in the convention center after it had been broadcast on your station 24 hours earlier, that is a problem. When you have people in the emergency management business saying that people are getting 2 hot meals a day in the Superdome, that is a big problem, because those were lies.
Yeah, but that was after the floods occurred.
The floods.
But in the days leading up to the hurricane, with hindsight, and all of us obviously are a lot smarter with hindsight, and you speak as a former governor, you know that there are things a governor and a mayor can do to take charge.
What I'm saying is everybody could have done a better job ahead of time, including the last 3 or 4 presidents who didn't put money into the levees. After the fact, however, it was very clear what everybody's job was, and there was one group of people who didn't do their job.
Let's talk a little bit about a comment you made. In the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina, we have a clear moral responsibility to do a better job of ensuring social and economic justice for every American, and there is still far too much that we don't know about John Roberts' record and beliefs on these critical issues. You're making a connection between Katrina and the confirmation hearings of John Roberts, which begin on Monday, and I'm not exactly sure what your point is.
My point is that John Roberts has a record. John Roberts appears to be a wonderful, decent family person. But again, we get back to the question about whether you really care and whether you really have compassion. It's not enough to say you care. It's what you've done. John Roberts' legal career has been about taking away every protection for young girls and women who want to participate in sports, for African Americans and Hispanics who want the same right to vote as everybody else, for taking away for women who believe they should determine what kind of health care they have instead of having politicians do it. His entire legal career appears to be about making sure those folks don't have the same rights everybody else does. That's probably not the right thing to do 2 weeks after a disaster where certain members of society clearly did not have the same protections that everybody else did because of their circumstances. Americans are fair people and they want a sense of justice. I know Judge Roberts loves the law. I'm not sure he loves the American people.
So should the Senate reject his confirmation?
Based on what I know now, absolutely yes.
We'll leave it there.
Thanks,
Governor,
Wolf.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
The Democratic Party Chairman Howard Dean speaking with me a little while ago here in the Situation Room. When we come back, the federal government's already allocated more than $60 billion for hurricane aid. Much more may be needed. So do we need a tax increase to pay for Hurricane Katrina? We've asked you to weigh in. Jack Cafferty is going through your answers. We'll get the results when we come back.
It's the all-new midsize sedan with a luxurious full-size cabin, protected by 6 airbags, standard. More interior space than Camry or Accord. The all-new 2006 Sonata, a Hyundai like you've never seen before.
CNN Tomorrow on American Morning. Katrina, the survivors, the heroes, the work ahead. Real news and pictures from overnight. American Morning, CNN Tomorrow, 7 Eastern.
Never plunge again. American Standard's new Champion flushing system with revolutionary flush tower technology. Only from American Standard.
Start your Oregon football Saturday with Oregon Game Day. Join Joe Johnsanti and Anthony Newman from the Mashofsky Center and on the road all season long for the inside look and complete breakdown of the Ducks' next big game. They'll have interviews, previews, and breaking news as the Ducks take the field. Saturdays this fall on CNW 14, your home of the Oregon Ducks.
Weekdays on CNBC, Ron Insana gets into the heart of the day's market action. Hardcore business from all the angles. What you could learn from how the pros make money. An insight that's uniquely Ron. Street Signs, weekdays on CNBC. Make it your business.
Street Signs, weekdays at 11 a.m. on CNBC is brought to you locally by
Pacific Continental. The right back.
It has 50,000 mouths, 200 legs, 1 hairy arm, and an overpowering urge to destroy the Pac-10. The green monster of Autzen Stadium. Get your tickets now. It's gonna be a monster season.
Katrina, what's next? Is America prepared? CNN Saturday night, 8 Eastern.
Jack Cafferty's been going through your email. He's joining us now once again from New York. What are you picking up, Jack?
The question this hour is this: do we need a tax increase to pay for Hurricane Katrina? Bonnie writes, yes, for all those who make over $100,000 a year, because obviously the people who need the financial help are below that level. The gap between the rich and the poor is widening every day. Larry in Sonora, California, we don't need new taxes to pay for repair of hurricane damage. More than a third of the projects in the recently passed Transportation Act are ridiculous and wasteful. Congress should repeal that act and replace it with a responsible and carefully thought out spending plan free of pork. Larry, that'll happen when pigs fly upside down. Nick in Long Island, New York. Any student of economic history knows tax increases slow the economy, decrease overall revenue to the government. Why create another problem by damaging the economy for the whole country? Alice writes, no, we don't need a tax increase. What we need to do is get out of Iraq. That's what we can't afford. Then we'll have the money we need to deal with this challenge. And finally, John writes, Cafferty, your liberal opinions are not appreciated by a majority of the viewers. Your smart remarks about our president and vice president are not welcome. If at all possible, try to be fair and balanced. I think that was a thinly veiled reference to the F-word network. Wolf, what do you think?
Maybe. Jack, thanks very much. We'll check back with you in a few moments. Coming up, what was it like to live in the Astrodome? We have some buzz from a blogger who's still inside. We'll check the situation online right after this.
Closed captioning hours on CNN, sponsored in part by Asper-Cream, odor-free, fast pain relief.
Can an odor-free patch stand up to your back pain?
You benefit Asper-Cream.
New Asper-Cream patch. Maximum strength medicine that's odor-free. Body pain stop.
Benefit Asper-Cream.
Buffalo are beautiful this time of year.
Oh, this just in. Huge crowds at the Ace Hardware sale. Bob, I think he went to the sale.
The Ace Helpful Hardware Day sale. Save 25% on Ace brand tools that fit inside this Ace toolbox for $4.99. Sale starts Friday.
Just announced, the Chevy employee discount continues on 05 vehicles and is now available on 06 full-size trucks. From the family of Chevy trucks, the most dependable, longest-lasting trucks on the road. The discount price is right on the window. That's the Chevy Total Value Promise. Right now, get a 2006 Silverado 1500 regular cab WT for under $16,200. See your local Chevy dealer today.
Every home has a rhythm of its own. And now, finally, there's an air freshener that's in tune with it. Introducing new Airwick Freshmatic, an automatic spray you simply set at intervals of 9, 18, or 36 minutes. It delivers wonderful bursts of fragrance that keep your home smelling fresh for up to 2 months. New Airwick Freshmatic. Set it to the rhythm of your home.
What are you doing? I just got a new home loan from Ditech.com and paid off all my credit cards.
Consolidate bills with Ditech's flat fee home loan. The total lender fee is just $395. Call 1-800-DITECH-3.
10 years ago, this company was just a crazy dream. But we hung in there together, went through countless meetings, a timely refinancing, and way too much Chinese takeout. And you know what? This little business, it's not so little anymore.
How long should we let your Morgan Stanley guy go, Bob?
Leave him alone. He's on a roll. When you work with a Morgan Stanley financial advisor, you get someone unusually devoted to your dreams, one client at a time.
I was just getting to the good part when Uncle Ernie dropped his tons. Oh, I'd seen that look before. It was heartburn. Before you could say duck sauce, I was there with my Pepsid Complete. I told him only Pepsid Complete starts to neutralize acid on contact and keeps heartburn from coming back all day or all night. In no time, Uncle Ernie was in Mushu heaven, and I had my eye on the spicy dumpling. Pepsid Complete, just one and heartburn's done.
Let's get the latest from inside the Houston Astrodome, where we're hearing directly from a blogger. Our internet reporter Jackie Schechner is checking the situation online. What are you hearing, Jackie?
Wolf, I want to introduce you to Joshua Cousin. He is a 20-year-old man, who is currently living in the Astrodome, and he's managed to chronicle the last couple weeks of his life via his blog. He had his blog up before the storm in New Orleans. This is his awaiting Katrina look. And then he goes on to tell the story of what happened. He was in the 7th Ward in a 3-story building. They survived the hurricane just fine. It was the flood afterwards that actually proved to be deadly. He lost an older cousin, Wolf. He died while trying to save a boy's life. Really a horrible story there. But after a short stay on the interstate, the family ended up at the Astrodome in Houston. And now he says, the dome, my home. What's interesting about Joshua is he's managed to maintain a wonderful sense of humor through all of this. He has posted his measurements online so that people can send him clothing if they'd like to. The other thing he's done is posted the Astrodome workout. He says that there are too many sandwiches, too many snacks, and he needs something to do. So that workout, walking. He says if you get bored, keep walking. If you get tired, you take a nap and you walk some more. There's just not that much to do. He's been talking to people. He has been updating his blog from the ACT Center, the Astrodome Community Technology Center. He's also able to check his email. And we have spoken to him via email, and he says a couple of things, that people are moving out of the Astrodome, but there are still thousands of people there. And I asked him about the shower situation, Wolf, and he said the biggest problem now is there's just no privacy. We'll send it back to you.
All right, very interesting. Jackie, thank you very much. It's 5 p.m. here in Washington, and you're in the Situation Room, where news and information from around the world arrive at one place simultaneously. Happening now, a major shakeup The head of FEMA sidelined, recalled to Washington, and replaced on the ground amid growing criticism. Coming home, but to what? 135 National Guard troops returning from the war zone in Iraq to a disaster zone in Louisiana. Found. A child missing since the disaster struck, now accounted for after our report. Will go live to the Center for Missing and Exploited Children for details. I'm Wolf Blitzer. You're in the Situation Room. In the disaster zone, a critical mission to provide the things most Americans take for granted, like security, assistance, even U.S. mail. For the first time today, evacuees are getting mail at a makeshift post office in Houston's Astrodome complex. Postal officials say now that FEMA forms are filled out, they're able to make some deliveries there. And many evacuees will need that mail, as FEMA now says it's going back to the old way of handing out assistance by check and electronic funds transfers instead of debit cards in some parts of the country. And it's a bittersweet homecoming for some. 135 Louisiana National Guardsmen are back home after serving in Iraq. They'll be helping in the relief effort in Louisiana and helping loved ones cope with all that they have lost. Let's take a closer look at the current situation unfolding right now. There are more troops in New Orleans. Right now, 14,000 troops are patrolling the streets, and police have arrested 200 people so far. Police say the city is now, and I'm quoting, fully secured. Caring for the hungry and the homeless. Relief. FEMA says it's ordered 21 million meals ready to eat, MREs, and have delivered almost 16 million of them. Also, the federal government says more than 235,000 evacuees are being housed in shelters. And the Red Cross, get this, says it's taken in $500 million in donations, but more money will surely be needed to help the survivors, spread out over 675 shelters in 23 states, as well as here in Washington, D.C. Let's get some live pictures right now. These are live pictures near a NASA facility in New Orleans. We're getting these courtesy helicopter reporter JT Alpa and his crew. Let's listen in briefly to hear what JT is reporting.
As this fire looking for whatever it can to consume. Try to push in tight here just to show you the close-up shot of what's burning here. And those appear to look like some boat holes starting to go. No firefighting aircraft on scene yet, and we haven't heard any response from Omaha and ETA, but no ground firefighting personnel in the area as well.
All right, we'll continue to monitor this fire and listen to what JT is reporting. We'll get back to that. We'll keep those pictures up. Meanwhile, on the ground in New Orleans, officials think they found everyone who wants to be evacuated. Now they're focusing in on finding the dead and hoping there won't be as many as first feared. Our Jeff Koinange is joining us once again from the streets of New Orleans. Jeff, what's the latest?
Well, if I can tell you, those stragglers are still adamantly refusing to leave New Orleans. We spent most of the day with various law enforcement agencies going neighborhood to neighborhood, literally finding people on their porches refusing to leave, Wolf. They don't want to leave their city. They say they withstood the storm, they withstood the post-storm period, and now they do not want to leave despite a threat of an outbreak of disease. Part of our travel, we ran into the commander of the Joint Task Force Katrina, Lieutenant General Russell Honore. And basically what he said is New Orleans is not a stranger to crises.
We're going to show you the 17th Street Canal, which divides Jefferson County, Jefferson Parish, and Orleans Parish. And again, most of the damage you're seeing on the left side of your shot, and that's the Orleans Parish side. The right side of the 17th Street Canal is the Jefferson Parish side. And we're going to slow down here real quick, and we're going to park it and show you one of the pumping stations.
It's flooded before. Go read your history. It's flooded before. We'll overcome this.
Basically, Wolf, what the general was saying is, A, he's not going to force anybody to leave the city if they don't want to leave. All he's doing is to assist local law enforcement. And B, when it comes to retrieving bodies, he doesn't want the media anywhere around because a lot of people have lost their loved ones. He doesn't want them to see them on television for the very first time. Wolf, he wants to treat this with a lot of sensitivity.
All right, Jeff, hold on a second. I want to come back to you, but I want our viewers to see these live pictures. J.T. Alpa, the helicopter reporter, and his team. Look at this helicopter bringing what looks like water to deal with this fire that we've been seeing that has erupted near some sort of NASA facility in New Orleans. Inside that huge, huge container is some water. Let's listen to J.T.
See some of that mist coming off. I'm going to pull out to show you where he is in relation to this fire. What he's going to do now is he's going to slow this aircraft down, get a good look at the obstacles around the area, make sure there's no wires or lines around that he can get his sling load caught on. And he's going to maneuver this helicopter and hover right over the top. Surgically drop this bucket into the area. As you can see, I'm putting it through the smoke. And we're going to go tight on that bucket just to show you how precise this is going to be. As he drops away and just drenches this water. Outstanding drop. And he may have just put out that fire with one load. Just an outstanding drop. And we're going to pull by and give you a shot of this Firehawk helicopter who did an excellent spot-on job as he goes back for one more load of water but we're going to come back to the fire here in a second. I just want to see how well he did. That was right on. Not a great shot. He just nailed that fire, and it is now smoldering white, but there's a little bit of fire on the eastern edge of it. We're going to get back and give you the shot here. So I push back in and show you what an effective job he did on that drop. Boy, he just nailed it. I think maybe one more of those just on that eastern edge, and he may be done with this one, or we can call this one a knockdown.
All right, while we wait for that next drop to come back and completely put out that fire, let's go back to New Orleans. And Jeff Koinange, our reporter on the scene. Most of the people who want to leave, if not all of the people who want to leave, have left. Those who are resisting leaving, when do police say they will actually start the physical evacuation of those who should leave but are refusing to leave?
They won't say, Wolf. What they're trying to do is gently persuade people. They're telling them that there may be an outbreak of disease. The city is not safe for people to live in. They're trying to really persuade these people. It's a tough job, Wolf. People don't want to leave for several reasons. I'll give you two right now. People have pets. They don't know whether their pets will be allowed wherever it is that they end up. Two, people have lots of valuables in their homes. They don't know whether their homes will be safe once they leave, despite the fact there's thousands, literally thousands. Let me let you see part of it, Wolf. Thousands of law enforcement officials on the ground. Look at the ones behind me right there. Those are the men and women from the NYPD, and there's just about every law enforcement agency in the country, Wolf. ATF, Customs, Border Patrol, and Customs, Forest Patrol. So many law enforcement agencies from across the country doing a great job keeping New Orleans secure, Wolf.
All right, Jeff Koinange reporting for us. Thank you very much. Let's go back to these live pictures. You see another helicopter bringing in this huge container of water to deal with that fire. It's erupted at this Michoud, this NASA facility. It's near the Michoud facility. This is where they make some external fuel tanks for those NASA shuttles, the space shuttle. But this is nearby. Let's listen to J.T. Alpa describe what's about to happen here. Watch this.
Making his approach, and we're going to stay tight on this bucket again. puts it in right over the top of those power lines. Now he can drop it in directly, and away it goes. And he puts it right on, just dousing that fire. It is absolutely extinguished. Outstanding job by that fire helicopter crew. They're making very quick work of this fire in this boatyard. So we're going to move on from this, and again, that's just a perfect example of what we've been seeing here in the past few days. The firefighting activities have really stepped up. Fire Department New York have been out here helping New Orleans Fire Department. A couple of other agents we've seen, these Firehawks and a few other of these water-dropping helicopters doing a fabulous job to immediately.
All right, we're going to move away from JT Alpa. We'll keep these pictures going for our viewers, but there's another important development that's unfolding right now. CNN meteorologist Rob Marciano is following a developing story involving Ophelia. What's going on?
Well, for the second day in a row now, the 5 o'clock update from the National Hurricane Center has upgraded Tropical Storm Ophelia back to hurricane strength. There was a recon aircraft in there about an hour ago, just barely making it to hurricane strength, and they're just kind of giving it the benefit of the doubt. Right now, 75-mile-an-hour winds moving northeastward away from land. That's important at this point, at least. It's 7 miles an hour. It is about 220 miles south-southeast of Charleston, South Carolina, or 175 miles east-northeast of Daytona Beach. So here it is on the infrared satellite picture. We use these colors to highlight the intensity. And when we have the sun up, we can look at the visible satellite. This really shows you the cloud tops, and you can kind of see the eye now with in the shadows there beginning to redevelop. So that's one of the reasons that they're saying, yeah, this thing looks like it's strengthening back to a hurricane. And so they're giving it 75-mile-an-hour sustained winds. And now the forecast track still wants to bring it close to the U.S. coastline. As a hurricane, over the next couple of days, it heads off towards the northeast. And then Saturday, tomorrow, and then on Sunday, maybe turning it around. South Carolina, North Carolina, the coastline of Georgia. These are the areas of concern when we head towards Monday, Tuesday, and maybe even Wednesday. What the intensity of this storm is, when it makes landfall, that is yet to be seen. Right now, the official forecast is for it to be a Category 1 storm, but it could go 2 or 3. I suppose it could weaken as well. But Wolf, right now, the warm waters here, the Gulf Stream, they're prime time territory for this thing to strengthen. And this curve is definitely a little bit disturbing, especially for the folks who live in, say, Charleston, South Carolina. We'll keep an update on that. Right now, Hurricane Ophelia back to hurricane strength, and maybe making a turn towards the U.S. come Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday.
Is that a technical term, area of concern, as opposed to a hurricane watch, hurricane warning? Area of concern, that's a first for me.
Well, I tell you what, we just decided here in the CNN Weather Center that this thing has so much variance, and they're not putting up any watches or warnings yet because it's just not close enough. And we just want folks who live in Georgia, in South Carolina, in North Carolina to be concerned and to keep an eye on this thing, because it's taking an unusual track, as you've pointed out. For this thing to turn back this way is not, it's not unheard of, but it is certainly unusual. So we have a lot of uncertainty as to where this thing is going to make landfall. So everywhere from Savannah all the way up to, say, Cape Hatteras, certainly want to be concerned about this storm.
All right, thanks. Rob Marciano reporting for us on Ophelia. It's now back to hurricane status. Here in Washington, the FEMA director, Michael Brown, has been widely criticized for the slow government response to the disaster, and he's now being recalled to the nation's capital from the scene, being replaced as the man in charge on the ground in the disaster area. Gene Reserve, our CNN's America Bureau, is standing by here in Washington with details on what has happened. Gene?
Wolf, an abrupt leadership change in the federal response to Katrina.
I have directed Mike Brown to return to administering FEMA nationally, and I have appointed Vice Admiral Thad Allen of the Coast Guard as the principal federal official overseeing the Hurricane Katrina response and recovery effort in the field.
There has been a torrent of criticism of Brown and the FEMA response effort he headed, an effort which has been characterized as too slow and, at least initially, too small. Adding fuel to the controversy, a report in Time magazine that Brown padded his resume. A FEMA spokeswoman calls it misleading, but some members of Congress are saying Brown should be removed from FEMA altogether.
The bottom line is that his removal from the scene is a good thing. But given the allegations that he padded his resume in a serious way, I don't think he should stay as head of FEMA. The bottom line is very simple, and that is that Mr. Brown was not up to the task of the cleanup, of the recovery in the wake of Katrina, and to keep him on the scene at the job would have been irresponsible to the needs of hundreds of thousands of people in the Gulf area.
Brown's replacement as principal federal official, Coast Guard Vice Admiral Thad Allen, is regarded by people inside and outside the administration as a no-nonsense individual who can get the job done, if anyone can. Wolf?
All right, Gene Reserve with this story, an important story today. Thanks, Gene, very much. Let's check in with CNN's Jack Cafferty. He's in New York. He's got another question for you this hour. Jack?
Did you translate, or did anybody translate what Chuck Schumer was saying there? Did
he basically wants Michael Brown to be fired.
Why can't they just say that? Why can't the politicians just speak in declarative sentences instead of all that gobbledygook that they come out with?
He's a lawyer.
Well, that goes a long way toward answering the question. Thanks, Wolf. One of the problems with getting people to voluntarily leave New Orleans is they don't want to leave their pets behind. I got pets. I don't know if I could walk away from them. I don't think I could. Hundreds, maybe thousands of these animals already dead, starved, or drowned. We've seen interviews with survivors of the flood who just can't walk away and leave their animals to die. Can't hardly blame them. Rescue workers say they're most worried about pets who are locked inside their homes and don't have food or water. And although up to now the job of saving the pets has been mostly to the animal welfare groups and to civilians, today General Honoré said they're going to start sending soldiers out with cages and the right equipment to bring the animals to a collection point. The question this hour is this: how much priority should be placed on getting people's pets out of New Orleans? Cafferty File, one word, CNN.com. If Mr. Schumer thinks that Mr. Brown should be fired, you'd think he could walk up there and say, in my humble opinion, I think it's time to fire Mr. Brown as the head of FEMA. Don't you think?
All right. Well, we'll see what our viewers think. That's more important. Hey, thanks very much. Yes,
what
it is.
You think is important.
No, it's not. Our viewers much more important.
I want to know what you think.
Stand by. I want to go with some live pictures from this helicopter. Look at this, Jack. I want you to watch what's going on. They're pumping water out of New Orleans into this canal here. This is part of the effort that's underway. It's a beautiful scene for all of us to see this water coming out of New Orleans. Long due. Let's listen in to J.T. Alpa once again.
Again, more and more of the unsung heroes of this disaster, this relief. These guys coming in here getting this water out. Everybody pulling together and working very hard. A lot of them wearing masks because of the smell of this filtered water. This water making its way. So they're deploying these pumps in areas that and using these portable pumps out too, as you can see some of the
dirty, disgusting water being removed from New Orleans, finally coming out. It's going to take a lot more of this in order to get the job done. We'll continue to bring you these live pictures from New Orleans. Coming up also, a nursing home packed with some 30 corpses. We'll take a closer look at the scene where crews are hunting for bodies right now. Also ahead, children of the storm separated from their parents. We learned just a few moments ago about a reunion that got its start right here in the Situation Room. We'll tell you what happened. And another dramatic view from the era of the Katrina catastrophe from helicopter pilot J.T. Alpa. He'll be reporting throughout this hour. Stay with us. You're in the Situation Room.
Designed to captivate. Designed to illuminate. The luxury sedan designed to outperform. Introducing the all-new M from Infinity.
Privacy, equality, the right to choose. Fundamental freedoms Americans have cherished for generations. But John Roberts dismisses one of our established liberties as the so-called right to privacy, and co-wrote a brief arguing that Roe v. Wade should be overruled. Roberts' legal record raises questions on whether he accepts the right to privacy. There's just too much at stake to let John Roberts become a decisive vote on the Supreme Court.
Lots of Wi-Fi users work in coffee shops, which aren't always the best places to work. Wouldn't it be great to work wherever you wanted instead of only in hotspots? Now you can with Verizon Wireless Broadband Access. Wi-Fi only works in limited locations, while Broadband Access is the nation's largest, fastest, wide-area wireless broadband network and is expanding coast to coast. Now get unlimited access at a great price, so you won't get stuck in a not-so-hot spot. Verizon Wireless, we never stop working for you.
Let Empire Glass replace your cracked windshield, and we'll give you 24 free dinners to Sherry's Restaurants, where you'll enjoy great food and delicious pies all day, every day. And we offer free mobile service to your home or office. So for the highest quality windshields and 24 free dinners to Sherry's, call Empire Glass today at 503-251-9881. And remember, when you think glass, think Empire.
Freezer's on the fritz, boss. All the ice is melting.
Hey, boss! 10 tons of tuna got caught up in customs.
Boss, we got cats.
Small business owners have enough challenges. High-speed internet shouldn't be one of them. As a broadband leader, Comcast delivers speeds up to 7 megs with advanced security features and 24/7 support. It's one thing you can count on.
IRS, line 1.
Coping with Katrina, His Holiness the Dalai Lama takes your calls. Larry King, CNN Sunday.
Among the many wrenching stories from Katrina, this one stands out. More than 24 people unable to evacuate who died in a nursing home outside New Orleans. CNN's Tom Foreman once again joining us here in the Situation Room to help us better understand this tragedy and where it played out. Tom?
Yeah, it's a terrible, terrible story. We all know that. Let me give you an idea of where this happened. If we can look at our map here and sort of zoom it out a little bit, this gives you an idea. That's the Mississippi River slicing down there. New Orleans is up this way, so we're going south and east of New Orleans. That's the river winding on through here. Just to the left over here is the Belle Chase Naval Air Station, where a lot of the Coast Guard rescues are operating out of. This is where we're talking about. This is where St. Rita's was, in this area back in here. It was flooded. That's the nursing home, yes, where they believe 32 people died out of 60 residents there. Some others were pulled out, but that's a lot of people in this area. Terrible, terrible thing. They clearly tried to defend themselves against the water. And we have video, new video today of this nursing home. Gives you an idea of the kind of place we're talking about. And importantly, it gives you an idea of the land that we're dealing with. We'll see the pictures come up. That's St. Rita's right there.
That's the nursing home right there.
Yeah, you look at the cars up here that have been pushed up against the building. This is very low-lying land throughout this part of, this isn't really New Orleans, this is out in St. Bernard Parish. When you get into this area, this is all low-lying even without a storm. The water here may have reached the ceiling inside the nursing home. Investigators have been going in and out, looking at this situation, seeing the people inside there, what they did. And one of the things that's going to happen in this process, Wolf, as you know, is particularly throughout the flood zone where people had custodial care, that is to say, somebody who was taking care of hospital patients or older people or children or people who may have some sort of mental or physical handicaps. Those people, throughout this process, they will look at this and they will look at holding people accountable for that. These are coroners who are out there working at St. Rita's today. As you know, they haven't been able to recover many of the bodies. But they're out there looking at who was there, trying to figure out why they were there, why they were not evacuated when some other nursing homes were. But this entire area, go back to the map, look at this. Right over here in the same area, all of that, on the best of days, is marshy, wet land, and the shallow nature of all the land here as the storm swept in off Lake Bourne over here, the shallow nature of that land focused the wind, focused the water, and made it more intense, and it rose explosively in that area, giving people very little chance of getting out, particularly if you're an older person and you have trouble moving.
Those poor souls of that nursing home who simply either couldn't get out or nobody tried to get them out or just left behind for whatever reason. We don't know the answers to any of those questions.
I think they'll find out, though. They're going to look at it because they take this very seriously. And throughout this region, we're going to see a lot more stories like that.
Tom, thanks very much. Coming up, one of the monumental challenges for the Gulf Coast, rebuilding roads wiped out by Katrina. How long will that take? How much will it cost? We'll have some serious questions for the Transportation Secretary, Norm Mineta. He's here. He'll be in the Situation Room when we come back.
Introducing new Smart Balance Microwave Popcorn, the world's first to help improve cholesterol, with no hydrogenated oil and no trans fatty acids. Smart Balance Microwave Popcorn, the great tasting popcorn that's actually good for you.
Look, anyone can try out, but not just anyone can make it.
Freeze, man! You better get that label straight.
I don't tolerate imperfections.
Why'd you replace that beer, Smith? Because Miller Lite has great taste. Yes, sir.
You see, with great taste comes great responsibility.
Tell me those aren't socks and sandals, Klein.
A beer with character deserves a man with character. We have to reflect that.
Ineligible.
It's time for the lending industry to change. That's why eLoan has consultants who don't make money based on the rate of the loan and has no lender fees. Those are some of the revolutionary ways we're changing the lending industry. eLoan. Radically simple.
All right. Got to copy the problem into your notebook. You'll find that on page 304. AJ, your book should be open. AJ?
JP Morgan Chase gives millions of dollars so inner city students can have computers in their schools and homes.
Ever used a computer before? Who has an email address?
And thousands of our people give their time to get them up and running.
Been on the internet. AJ? Hey,
Hi. From JP Morgan Chase.
Let me move those things for you. AJ, can you come here, please?
So we'll set it up so that your name is the password. I'll just leave this here for you if you want.
The experience has taught us an interesting lesson. The more we give to our community,
that's AJ.
The more we seem to get in return. JP Morgan Chase.
These are live pictures we're getting in from our friends over at this helicopter. Take a look at this, the American flag that's just been put up in New Orleans. That flag is a new flag, not put up before the storm, but a symbol of the determination, the effort of everyone in New Orleans and the Gulf Coast to rebuild their lives. These are live pictures coming in from New Orleans right now. Well, we've been talking about what it will take to help Katrina's evacuees rebuild their lives, but we also want to discuss to a certain degree what it will take to rebuild the so badly damaged roads, bridges, and infrastructure of this area. Joining us here in the Situation Room, the Transportation Secretary, Norman Mineta. Mr. Secretary, thanks very much for joining us. Have you done a preliminary estimate how much it will cost to rebuild the roads, the bridges, the transportation system that was destroyed by this hurricane?
We haven't done a thorough assessment of this yet. There are some back-of-the-envelope numbers right now, and they probably, just in terms of the roads for emergency relief and our 100% federal participation of that repair would probably be in excess of $2.5 billion. But some of this work has already been let, and so the work is starting already.
We've been showing our viewers these pictures of these intercoastals, these bridges, these causeways, whatever they're called, that simply were uprooted. What do you have to basically start from scratch and rebuild them?
We do, and in some cases what we will have are temporary one-way traffic on the I-90 bridge going into New Orleans from Slidell. We're starting to work on the Pascagoula Bridge on I-10, and there are 3 contracts that we let yesterday on Highway 90 to start the work to get one-way traffic, or one lane of traffic in each direction on the 90 road.
We've been showing our viewers some of these interstates and some of these destructed areas. This is I-10, Interstate 10 that we're showing. There's been some suggestion you should rebuild all these interstates, all these roads, but maybe move them to different locations because of the vulnerability where they are right now. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think in the case of Highway 90, that runs right along the coastline, and where you have some parts of the road that have been washed out, we may have to reconfigure the road in that area. But again, those assessments have not been totally made. Those are really done by the state departments of transportation, and we partner with them in the sense that we become their funding agent, but the work is done primarily by the state departments of transportation.
Mr. Secretary, our Ellie Velchey is in New York. He has a question for you. Go ahead, Ellie.
Mr. Secretary, thank you. You know, we've got the number 2, 3, and 4 airlines in this country in big trouble. Today, they're saying that the losses as a result of the increase in the price of jet fuel are going to put them into big trouble, and they're asking you to suspend federal gasoline taxes, federal jet fuel taxes to keep them afloat. At some point, this is becoming a big problem. I mean, there are airlines operating in bankruptcy. What now can you do further than what the department has already done to assist the airlines?
Well, I met with the board of directors of the Air Transport Association yesterday, and they explained to me that they were paying roughly $70 a barrel oil, and on top of that, they now are paying a $25 per barrel, what they call crack spread. The crack spread maybe 10 days ago was $2 or $3 a barrel, and now it's up to $25, $30 a barrel. So they were asking for relief in the sense that if they could charge a fuel surcharge and not have the 7.5% ticket tax apply against that fuel surcharge. And that's something, again, that we're considering.
What's likely to happen to that, Mr. Secretary? Is that something that you're likely to be able to accommodate?
Well, that's something we'd have to discuss with the NEC and others at the White House.
I'll let you take a sip of that water, Mr. Secretary. And while you do that, we got some live pictures coming in. We'll show our viewers some of those live pictures right now. This is, speaking about transportation, look at, I don't know if you have access to CNN over there, but this clearly is a destroyed bridge that they're going to have to do a lot of work with. As we see these pictures, Mr. Secretary, I want to read to you a quote from the former Secretary of State, your friend Colin Powell, who was on ABC. He said this, and I want to get your thoughts. Quote, "When you look at those who weren't able to get out, it should have been a blinding flash of the obvious to everybody that when you order a mandatory evacuation, you can't expect everybody to evacuate on their own. These are people who don't have credit cards. Only 1 in 10 families at that economic level in New Orleans have a car." Looking back, the Department of Transportation, was there more that you and your department could have done to help in that evacuation?
Under the National Response Plan, we're responsible for what's called the emergency support function. And that is that we will respond to the requirements of the Department of Homeland Security through FEMA in terms of what their needs are. They tell us whether to pre-position tarps or water, MREs, whatever. And we did all of that in response to what requirements were laid on us. Now, there are other things that we were doing on our own based on making sure that the economy did not falter. One of those things was to get the pipelines up and running. And our Office of Pipeline Safety, working with the pipelines, commandeering some generators to critical places where they have their pumping stations. We got all of those up and running, and by Friday, 40% of the fuel was in, and by Monday night, 100% on one line, and last night, the other 100%. So there were things that we did on our own, but under the, again, the National Response Plan, our function is to respond to whatever the requirements that are laid on us. Last Thursday, we were told, get 455 buses to the Superdome. So we had 450 buses. The next day, we were told, have 1,100 buses there. And so we got those there. But at the same time, we knew that there was going to have to be air evacuation of these folks, and we started with a conference call after the conversation with DHS, and we worked out a voluntary agreement with the Air Transport Association where 15 airlines just stepped forward to provide the airplanes for us to do the largest aerial airlift in our history. So there are certain things that we do in response to the ESF function, requirements that are put on us. There are other things that we do on our own in order to keep the economy going.
Norman Edda, the Secretary of Transportation. Thanks, Mr. Secretary, for spending a little time with us here in the Situation Room.
Thanks, Wolf.
We're going to continue to watch all these live pictures that are coming in, some of them very, very dramatic. When we come back, though, many still missing. But some children of the storm are now being reunited with their families. We'll go live to the Center for Missing and Exploited Children right after this.
Some will get the dirty jobs. Others will lead a more leisurely life.
All you want to do is use me.
Still others will save lives. At GMC, we can't be certain how you'll use our trucks and SUVs, so we engineer them all to the highest standard, professional grade.
All you want to do is use me.
Would you like to turn your equity into cash you can use for any purpose? Just log on to ditech.com for your free online e-appraisal. Right now we're offering a low fixed-rate home equity loan with a flat fee of just $49. Call 1-800-DITECH-3.
Your challenge, get the right forces there as fast as you can.
Tail emerging from concealment.
Transmit alarm ready. Achieve air dominance. Engage the right targets with pinpoint precision. Force application. Precision engagement. Decisions made possible by net-centric systems, turning data into knowledge and knowledge into action.
Target destroyed.
Lockheed Martin.
Transmit all clear.
We never forget who we're working for.
Be frugal.
Be decisive.
Be opportunistic. Be powerful. In other words, be extraordinary. Power E-Trade Pro, radically upgraded and now with low pricing for stock and options trades. At E-Trade Financial, we keep challenging the ordinary to help investors be extraordinary.
Throughout the day here on CNN, our Deborah Farrick has been updating us on current operations in the disaster zone. She's in New York with the latest status alert. Deb, these disaster mortuary teams that have been brought in, what are they doing right now?
What they're doing right now is they're waiting for bodies. The latest status alert has to do with body recovery. Thailand appears to have done a better job collecting its dead after the tsunami than the United States following Hurricane Katrina. An expert close to both recovery efforts says FEMA has yet to sign a contract with the private company that FEMA itself called on to gather the dead. That company, Kenyon International, has been helping Louisiana parishes, but their recovery efforts have been limited by what an insider calls a paralyzing amount of bureaucracy on the part of the federal government. The Fed's own mortuary teams aren't even collecting victims. They're waiting until the victims are brought to them so that they can then begin the process of identification. That's the status alert. Wolf?
What about the private companies? What are they doing?
Well, they're the ones who are just waiting. One private company was actually told simply to go back to Houston until the federal government got in touch with them. And this is a private company that has portable morgues. They've got teams ready to be dispatched. And because FEMA hasn't signed off on any sort of contract, it's been 12 days now, and there's no coordinated effort on the ground to try to gather these victims. So you have people, individuals, people from the National Guard. Once they find somebody, they'll get that body, but no real overall coordinated effort. Wolf?
All right, Deborah Farrick giving us the latest on that. Thank you, Deb, very much. I want to show our viewers some live pictures that are coming in right now from aboard from the Centers for Missing and Exploited Children in Northern Virginia. We're going to go there live. There are some heart-wrenching stories unfolding. Our Brian Todd is there. We'll go there right after this.
Place the flowers in the vase that you bought today. It's time to get out down. Put your toothbrush away and ready for school. Move the windows out. Dana. Sunshine.
bankers of JP Morgan Chase have committed $800 billion to strengthen minority and low-income communities.
Hey, Dana, come on, baby.
It's not just a financial commitment. It's a commitment to the American dream. JP Morgan Chase.
10 years ago, this company was just a crazy dream. But we hung in there together, went through countless meetings, a timely refinancing, and way too much Chinese takeout. And you know what? This little business, it's not so little anymore.
How long should we let your Morgan Stanley guy go, Bob?
Leave him alone. He's on a roll. When you work with a Morgan Stanley financial advisor, you get someone unusually devoted to your dreams, one client at a time.
I write underground comics, and I got my latest idea at work, The Actuary. By day, just a mild-mannered accountant, crunching numbers, deciphering the tax codes, spreadsheets, but at night, a crime-solving mathematician with laser vision. I do it all on my computer, write, draw, and publish online. He may not always get his man, but he always gets the girl.
Start something heroic. Start anything you like with a world of software and devices that run on Windows.
Closed captioning hours on CNN, sponsored in part by Capsaicin HP, raises your level of relief.
When I hit the ball, the pain hits me.
Capsaicin Cream. Stronger relief each time you use it.
I can't feel the pain. I'm stunned.
Capsaicin. Relief beyond belief.
Now an update on a story we first brought you yesterday, reuniting Hurricane Katrina's missing children with their families. The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children is directly involved in that effort. Our Brian Todd is over in Alexandria, Virginia, where they're based right now, and he's got some details. Brian?
Wolf, a very busy command center here. As we reported to you, the count of missing children now is at 1,242. We'll take a little bit of a shot of the room here. It's very busy. Dozens of volunteers here, 16 hours a day. Put up some pictures now for you of some of the missing kids. 4-year-old Ann McCrae, last seen with her mother and brother in Gulfport, Mississippi. She is missing from that area. Also, we have a brother and sister to tell you about, Gabrielle Olvera and Ryan Olvera. Gabrielle is 9 years old, Ryan 10 years old. And Ryan has epilepsy, so here's a child who's in need of medication, and whether he is getting it or not, we don't know. We're joined by Bob O'Brien. Bob is the incident commander of this room, and Bob, when you have a child like Ryan Olvera, special needs, he may be having seizures now for all we know. How do you guys mobilize?
It's absolutely critical that we get that information out to the field right away. After it's recorded here, I've got case managers up on the second floor that are in touch with our team out of consultants that are deployed at 5 locations in the field in the states that are affected. To get the information out to them as soon as possible to show what the special need is, whether it's medication, sight impaired, hearing impaired, and so forth, because that child or that adult is at a much higher risk than others that we're looking for.
Well, good luck with that. I know it's a very tall task, especially logistically and otherwise, when you're trying to match these kids up with their parents and deal with their special needs. Thank you very much, Bob.
Thank you.
Wolf, once again, we're going to put up the number really quick and then tell you about a story here. 1-888-544-5475. That's the Katrina Missing Persons Hotline. You can call there if you see a child who you might recognize or just want to report one missing. Also go to www.missingkids.com. We do have some very good news to report. This young man, Caleb Broussard Fleming, 6 years old. We reported on him yesterday as being missing. This is a picture of him when he was 2 years old. But we reported on this yesterday, and because someone saw our report, he was reunited with his mother. His mother is in Panama City, Florida, so she was quite a ways away from him. But someone saw our report yesterday, called the Center for Missing and Exploited Children. They were able to connect him with his mother. Some very good news coming out of our reporting, but of course, mostly coming out of what this center is doing here. It is yeoman's work. They are here 16 hours a day. Wolf.
If we can help at all, we're grateful to do so. Brian, thank you very much. Thank everyone for volunteering where you are as well. Our internet reporter, Abby Tatton, is joining us now with a little bit more about missing kids and resources that are available on the web. Abby?
Yes, Wolf. People, members of the public and caseworkers with the Center for the Missing and Exploited Children are working together using online databases of the missing to try and reunite families. MissingKids.com is the site that Brian was just talking about there. This little boy, Calvin Collins, was listed as missing with that site. He was from New Orleans. His mother had gone to Tyler, Texas, and they were separated. His mother was listed at the Red Cross site when she showed up in a shelter there. And a member of the public was searching both of these databases and managed to link them up, let the center know, and caseworkers at the center are working on reuniting them. That case now, Calvin Collins, resolved. Another success story, little Jordan Barnes, 5-month-old baby who was in the hospital in New Orleans when the hurricane struck, got separated from his caregivers who ended up in Dallas, Texas. A caseworker, again with the Center for Missing and Exploited Children, just kept checking back with the redcross.org, managed to match them up. Still many, many cases to go, Wolf, but some success stories out there.
Good work. Thank you, Abby, very much. A programming note to our viewers. Tonight, CNN's Paula Zahn Now will air Children of the Storm, featuring the innocent and vulnerable victims of Hurricane Katrina, that airs tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern, only here on CNN. Coming up, a question of priorities in the disaster zone. How much time and energy should be spent on saving pets when people are in real need and remain in danger? Your email. And Jack Cafferty. That's coming up.
Remarkable new 9/11 stories.
I get goosebumps when I think about missing that trip by 1 minute.
Was it destiny? An all-new CNN presents Sunday night 80.
Why did your last diet fail?
If you're over 30, overstressed, and overweight, take a look in the mirror. You've got excess body fat around your waist, hips, and belly, right? Well, diet failure is not your fault. The problem is cortisol, a nasty little stress hormone that traps excess fat around the middle. But now there's Relacor. Relacor helps control cortisol and helps us lose stubborn belly fat fast. If you're dieting and still plagued by unsightly belly bulge, even if you're low-carb dieting, there's only one Relacor. Relacor helps you get thinner, look younger, and have energy to burn. Remember, when you're over 30, overstressed, and want to get rid of stubborn belly fat, the answer is Relacor.
Call in the next 15 minutes and find out how you can receive a 1-month supply of Relacor absolutely free. Call 1-800-910-1401. That's 1-800-910-1401.
Order Relacor now. It's easy. You'll love it.
Police! Real cops.
We're going to place you under arrest.
Notify the hospital, trying to get this dog off a rear fire escape.
Real cases.
We're going to do everything we can to make sure that the individual that had this horse never does this to another horse again.
Real drama.
Oh my God, this is the worst day of my life.
Go on patrol with a new breed of hero. Every weeknight at 10, join the heroes of Animal Planet.
Brought to you locally by the National Kidney Foundation of Oregon and Washington, reminding you that donating your vehicle helps to save lives. Right now, Oregon kids are becoming better readers thanks to the efforts of the Portland New Car Dealers Association. Through their partnership with Operation Outreach, your local new car dealers help get books to kids who don't have books at home. Teachers are getting supplemental training materials, and Oregon kids are getting a chance to succeed and excel. Feels good to know our kids benefit from the generous support of the Metro Portland New Car Dealers, Operation Outreach, and Comcast Cable. Making a difference for Oregon's kids.
Bringing you the world for 25 years. This is CNN.
Help is pouring in from around the country. Check this out. This is a helicopter from the California Highway Patrol brought in to help in the rescue operations, the search and rescue operations. These are live pictures we're getting of this California Highway Patrol helicopter flying over New Orleans right now. Our helicopter pilot JT Alpa is watching this together with all of us. Jack Cafferty's been going through your email on the question of the hour in Jackson, New York, joining us now live. Jack?
Wolf, the question this hour has to do with pets. How much priority should be placed on getting people's pets out of New Orleans? Late today, or not so late today actually, General Honore announced that they are going to start sending out cages and some of the necessary equipment and try and evacuate more pets along with people they bring out. Susie in Boca Raton, Florida writes, "My dogs are my family. I'd never leave without them. I don't understand why a much higher priority is not placed on pets." Carol in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, just up the road from the devastation. These people have lost everything. I think being reunited with their beloved pets would be a tremendous psychological lift for them. Pat in Charleston, South Carolina, it's a measure of our humanity that we love and care for pets. What kind of yardstick are we using if we leave them to starve or worse? We put them there. We are responsible for ensuring their welfare. Lisa writes in New Brunswick, Canada, "Come on, pets. This isn't even a serious question. I can't even believe they're thinking about devoting any manpower or energy toward pets. I've had many a beloved pet in my time, but considering the depth and magnitude of this disaster, I think to expend any energy toward saving pets is really pathetic." And Fernanda in Arvada, Colorado, "I like you even better now. I could not leave my cat behind. No way. First, because I love him. Second, because I'm responsible for him. People can choose to stay or leave. Pets depend on us to make the call." Wolf.
All right, Jack, thanks very much. I didn't know you were a pet lover, but that's good to know. I'll see you Monday.
Okay, sir. Have a good weekend.
Okay, thank you very much. I want to bring some live pictures right now over in New Orleans. These are pictures just coming in the Superdome. You can see it right there. You can clearly make out how much damage was done to that facility as a result of this hurricane. It had been a shelter during the immediate days following the flooding of the city, but now it's just the Superdome. We don't know how long that's going to survive for all practical purposes. Among the countless number of Americans reaching out to Katrina's victims, one group who knows tragedy firsthand is having a very important role in all of this. Let's bring in CNN's Mary Snow. She's in New York with their story. Mary?
Wolf, as families here in New York prepare to mark the 4th anniversary of September 11th, they say now is the time for them to give back. One disaster created by nature, the other created by man. People who lost relatives on the September 11th attack on New York's World Trade Center say they can't compare, but they can relate.
Who better than 9/11 family to know what they're feeling? They're lost. You know, especially in the beginning, the first few days, they're walking around like they don't know where to turn.
Frank Siller's brother Stephen was one of 343 firefighters killed trying to rescue people from the World Trade Center. In his brother's honor, Siller started a foundation to help children who've lost parents.
And I'd like to know where I can donate supplies to the victims of the hurricane.
Now the foundation's focus shifts to victims of Katrina, raising supplies and money. And New Yorkers are sending support in other ways. Hundreds of city firefighters and police officers are voluntarily working in New Orleans. Others in New York want to offer hope. Cantor Fitzgerald CEO Howard Lutnick lost 638 of his employees on September 11th. A relief fund that has become part of the fabric of his firm expects to send millions to Katrina's victims.
We've got so much knowledge, experience, and just broken hearts, if you will, that we can share with others who have a broken heart. So we're going to focus on those families who've lost loved ones.
Margie Miller knows the stark reality for those families. She lost her husband in the Twin Towers and remembers the pain of uncertainty about his fate. As she musters support for Katrina victims, Miller points out that many people in her position share the same thought.
To give back. You know, to give back. People were so kind to us. People were so generous to us. And who more than we would know what that feels like.
And many families here in New York say they want to get through this anniversary on Sunday, and then they plan to be very much more aggressive in helping victims of Katrina.
So you're finding, Mary, a real sort of solidarity between the victims of 9/11, the families who survived, as well as what's happening in Katrina. It's coincidental that it's happened almost exactly 4 years later.
Absolutely, and so many of these families are saying that feelings are certainly triggered when they saw these images as they first happened, and also they say that Americans were very generous to them, and they say they'll never forget that, and they feel now it's their time to give back.
And what about Cantor Fitzgerald? What specifically is Howard going to do to try to help the victims of Katrina?
Well, every year, the day after September 11th, they have a charity day, and they raise funds for children who've lost parents in 9/11 in the company. Usually, last year they raised $7 million. What they plan to do this year is take half of that and give it to children of Katrina and half to the children of 9/11.
Mary Snow reporting for us. Mary, thanks very much. Just ahead, a blogger from New Orleans with pictures we've never seen before. We'll show you his view over the last 2 weeks. You're in the Situation Room.
I'm always here, working. A low profile on the high plateau, vanishing in the shadows of the buttes. Bred to be nature's neighbor, reaching miles deep for energy America needs. A natural gas well, meeting the demand in harmony with the land. With still more to explore.
Just announced, the Chevy employee discount continues on 05 vehicles and is now available on 06 full-size trucks. From the family of Chevy trucks, the most dependable, longest-lasting trucks on the road. The discount price is right on the window. That's the Chevy Total Value Promise. Right now, get a 2006 Silverado 1500 regular cab WT for under $16,200. See your local Chevy dealer today.
Ditech.com can save you thousands of dollars in closing costs.
With our previous refinances, we ended up paying a lot in closing costs. This time, we went to Ditech, and it was only $395.
Log on or call 1-800-DITECH-3.
Go to Priceline now for the best deals on hotels. Name your own price for 3- and 4-star hotels and save up to $100 a night off other leading travel sites every night you stay. Brilliant. Only at the new Priceline.
What cooks like butter, spreads like butter, and has a fresh dairy taste like butter without the cholesterol and high saturated fat? Smart Balance Buttery Spread. Smart Balance just received another Best Taste Award and is endorsed by professional chefs. It's the only spread with a patented balance of fats to help increase HDL good cholesterol and avoids trans fat naturally, not artificially as some spreads do. Smart Balance. You're going to love that buttery taste.
So we need 90 notebooks, Wi-Fi enabled ASAP?
Right.
You just want me to make them appear now? All right.
Haru, Paco, Acho.
I'm just kidding. I'll call CDW. You'll have your notebooks in no time.
Nobody responds like CDW. With great technology like the HP Compact Tablet PC TC4200 with Intel Centrino mobile technology. CDW, the right technology, right away.
Live pictures we're seeing coming in from New Orleans. Helicopter pilot, you see the water that's beginning to leave the city. We're hoping that this is a good sign that this pumping station is really pumping out the water. This pumping station looks like it's back on track, pumping out not just a little spigot of water, but a nice quantity of water from water-drenched New Orleans. We'll continue to watch these pictures together with you. Our internet reporter Jackie Schechner is here with one New Orleans resident who's been recording his life in New Orleans over the past couple of weeks with photographs. Jackie?
Well, the guy's name is Alvaro, and what he did is he spent 6 days in New Orleans, and when he got out, he started posting the photos in a gallery online. We found the link through andrewsullivan.com, and that's where you can find it as well. A reminder of the timeline of 6 days in New Orleans. Take a look at the photos from beginning. It says all you saw was a similar site, a bunch of photos of buildings boarded up. Then the aftermath photos, we've seen a lot of these, this in particular, what a pile of bricks can do to a car. But these were the ones that really struck us that we hadn't seen before. The inside of a Winn-Dixie after it had been looted. He says that there were fingernail marks on the packages as people tried to pry them open. Take a look at this one. He said it looked like the hurricane hit indoors, no pun intended. Look at how horrific that is. Another one, he says the checkout aisles, the corridors, the newsstands, everything was absolutely demolished. This one also caught our eye. Look at the pharmacy department. He said every major medication wiped off the shelves. Some other photographs to show you outdoors, some things that we've seen, but just here's an example. This is Canal Street. He said after the hurricane, it was pretty bad. 24 hours later, after the flood, Take a look at this. Venice meet New Orleans. New Orleans meet Venice. Now, the convention center, the pictures we've seen, Wolf, it continues on. Go to andrewsullivan.com, click on the link. I'm telling you, extraordinary photos. Wolf.
Thanks very much, Jackie, for that. One more programming note. CNN's Paul is on, and now tonight will air a special Children of the Storm featuring the innocent and the vulnerable victims of Hurricane Katrina that airs tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern. We'll be back here in the Situation Room Monday at a special time, noon Eastern, to bring you live coverage of the confirmation hearings of John Roberts to be Chief Justice. We'll also have the very latest on the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina. Lou Dobbs tonight starts right now. Lou's in New York to pick up our coverage.
Thank you, Wolf. Good evening, everybody. Tonight, FEMA Director Michael Brown has been recalled to Washington. His recall follows scathing criticism. A Coast Guard admiral is now in charge of the entire Hurricane Katrina relief operation. We'll have the full report. New charges tonight that the federal government is making it easy for corporate America to make big profits from the massive hurricane recovery effort at the expense of middle-class Americans and taxpayers, and at the same time cutting the pay of those who will be rebuilding the Gulf Coast. 300,000 children are among the million who have fled the disaster zone. Tonight, we tip our hat to the state of Texas and the Texans who've achieved the impossible in helping those students get back to school. 1 week after President Bush declared FEMA Director Michael Brown is doing, quote, a heck of a job, Brown has been recalled to Washington and removed from direct responsibility for hurricane relief operations. Brown's removal comes amid rising outrage about Brown's performance and new questions about his qualifications for the job in the first place. The Coast Guard Chief of Staff, Vice Admiral Thad Allen, replaces Brown as director of the huge relief effort along the Gulf Coast. The relief operation continues, and there was some good news today. Rescue workers say they are finding fewer bodies than had been expected. The number of dead in the city could be significantly below earlier projections of 10,000. New Orleans police are also concerned tonight about hurricane survivors who still refuse to leave that city. Between 5,000 and 10,000 survivors remain in the city, but officials say law enforcement agencies will only use force to remove those people as a last resort. Jeff Konangi in New Orleans reports on the developing plans to force people from their homes. Drew Griffith will report on one group of residents who refuse to leave the city. Ed Lavandera in Alexandria, Louisiana, reports tonight on the return of Louisiana National Guard troops from Iraq. They now face destroyed homes and missing family members. We begin our coverage tonight with Jeff Konangi. Jeff?
That's right, Lou, and we spend most of this day with various law enforcement agencies and also volunteers from across the country trying to gently persuade New Orleans to leave the city. As you well know, the water has become more stagnant. The threat of an outbreak of disease is imminent. But I tell you, a lot of people not wanting to leave their city, and there's two basic reasons. One, a lot of them have pets. They don't know whether to leave their pets behind, or wherever it is they end up, will their pets be allowed? Two, a lot of them have valuables in their homes, and they don't know whether their homes will be secure once they leave the city, despite the fact that there are over 19,000 military and police personnel spread across the city. The city is basically secure. In fact, we ran into the commander of the Joint Task Force Katrina, Lieutenant General Russell Honore, and he told us basically his mission is twofold. One, he's not going to force anyone to leave this city. Two, he's going to make sure that when it's time to retrieve the bodies or remains of those who are dead, he doesn't want the media around. Why? He doesn't want their family and friends to see their bodies for the first time on television without them being informed. So what he's saying basically is, Lou, he's treating this entire situation with a lot of sensitivity.
A lot of sensitivity, Jeff, but as you well know, and everyone in the television news business knows, the way in which photographs, video is taken of the recovery of those bodies can be done so that they are not identifiable. Why this clampdown, and is the media resisting it?
Well, the thing is, up until now, 12 days later, people have freely been going and filming bodies. And I'm sure there's been a lot of backlash. People calling radio stations, TV stations, saying, hey, I just saw my loved one on television for the first time. And now, can you just imagine 12 days later what state those corpses are in? Because for the most part, this has been a search and rescue mission. It's now going to become a search and recovery mission. It's going to be a lot worse, the conditions of those corpses, Lou.
And Jeff, we want to tell our audience that CNN has filed suit in federal court to resist any agency that attempts to constrain our coverage in any way of this search and rescue and recovery operation in the Gulf Coast. Jeff, thank you very much. Officials in New Orleans say nearly everyone who is prepared to leave the city voluntarily has already left. Those residents who remain are declaring they will resist any effort to remove them. Drew Griffin has our report tonight. Drew?
And I'm going to show you why, Lou. We haven't shown a lot of this on TV, but there are really two sides of New Orleans, the one that was flooded and the one that really wasn't hit that bad at all. We have been driving for the last 6 days through many parts of this city. The French Quarter, the Lower Central Business District, all through the Garden District, and these areas have tree limbs down, a little bit of wind damage, but no flooding, never any flooding in many of these areas. And some of the residents, like a fellow we ran into, James McLaurin, says he's got 4 weeks worth of water. He actually has water pressure in his home so he can flush his toilet, and he has phone lines. He says the city is just trying to scare him out.
See what they're doing, they come around trying to brainwash you for you to go and leave your place so when you come back you won't have nothing to come back to.
He says the soldiers keep coming around asking him what size he is, what size body bag he's going to need. He says if he needs a body bag, it's going to be when he dies from old age, and he'd need it anyway. They are staying put. He says he has plenty of food. What these people would really like is for the city or anyone, or maybe some of these soldiers, to just come in, clean the place up, and get the power back on. He sees no reason why he should go.
And he obviously is a man of considerable strength and character, and it's easy to understand and to sympathize with his view. How soon will we see, do you believe, and best do you understand, Drew, that power return to that area?
Lou, every night we have to leave here through the barricade set up and through the curfew zone, and each night that power creeps closer and closer in. Really, on the western side of New Orleans, it is the kind of hurricane recovery that I've seen in so many hurricanes. 2 or 3 days after the hurricane, the power trucks come in, they start rebuilding the system. It's really not that bad. I would guesstimate, not being a power company official, I would guesstimate he's going to have power 4 or 5 days from now.
Let's hope that your guesstimate is accurate. Thank you very much, Drew Griffin. As emergency workers and troops continue their search and recovery operation, hundreds of Louisiana National Guardsmen have begun to return from combat duty in Iraq. Those National Guardsmen are returning, of course, to an uncertain future. Many of them have lost their homes in this flood disaster. Some have lost contact with their families. Ed Lavandera reports from Alexandria, Louisiana. Ed?
Hi, Lou. Well, this isn't the homecoming that many of these soldiers expected to receive when they deployed from here a year ago. The 256th Brigade Combat Team had been in Iraq patrolling the Baghdad airport for the last year. Dangerous duty, and in the last couple of weeks they've been doing that job, all the while in the back of their mind trying to get as much news as possible as to what happened to their families. So about 500 of the 3,000 reservists that will be coming back started coming back today and will be coming back over the next couple of days. 500 or so of those have been directly affected by the hurricane, either lost their homes. It could even go higher. Officials here say many other soldiers, these are reservists we're talking about, work in the oil industry. Many of those jobs just don't exist right now, so that number could go higher as to how many were affected. An emotional homecoming. We saw one soldier break down after learning that a cousin had been killed in the hurricane flooding. Other soldiers learning that their homes were destroyed, their personal property destroyed, and many of these soldiers coming home to learn that their families are spread out all over the country now, and that's why some family members were saying that the turnout for their homecoming wasn't as big as the departure when they left here a year ago. An emotional day for them.
Ed, thank you very much indeed. Ed Lavandera. Tropical storm Ophelia has strengthened into a hurricane once again tonight. Ophelia, which is packing winds now of 75 miles an hour, is slowly moving away from the eastern Florida coast. But forecasters say the storm could still pose a threat to the coast next week. They say Ophelia could change direction and make landfall in Georgia or the Carolinas. But obviously it is difficult to forecast that far ahead. Still ahead, a special report on the recall to Washington of FEMA Director Michael Brown. Also uproar in Congress over the failure of leadership in this hurricane disaster at all levels of government. We'll be examining this unprecedented partisan bickering in the midst of a national crisis. Also tonight, charges that the federal government is making it easy for corporate America to pay low wages to Americans who will be rebuilding the Gulf Coast. We'll have that special report, and chaos and disorder in Louisiana's judicial system. We'll report on the immense challenges facing Louisianans after the destruction of their courts and the dislocation of thousands of prisoners. That story and a great deal more coming right up.
Lou Dobbs Tonight is brought to you by FedEx. For the ultimate in reliable shipping, relax. It's FedEx.
Good news, men. Now we can sell our chimney caps directly to America. And we can get everything we need to make them from China. How are we going to do all that, then? FedEx will help us with all the shipping, even the complicated customs forms. What's wrong?
We don't have to give up our chimney sweep jobs, though, right?
Of course not. Don't be silly.
FedEx, helping take your small business to the world.
Night. It's when most of the world sleeps. A time to reset our clock so we can begin a new day. It's all part of the rhythm of life. But for many, this healthy cycle is disrupted because sleep doesn't always come easy. Fortunately, there's Ambien. Ambien is a prescription sleep aid that can help you get a full night's sleep. While natural sleep is best, Ambien helps you fall asleep fast, stay asleep longer, and wake rested and refreshed, not groggy the next morning. No wonder Ambien is the #1 prescribed sleep aid in America. Until you know how Ambien will affect you, you shouldn't drive or operate machinery. Side effects may include drowsiness, dizziness, and diarrhea. You shouldn't take it with alcohol. All people taking sleep medicines have some risk of becoming dependent on the medicine. Prescription sleep aids are most often taken for 7 to 10 days as needed. Your doctor will advise you about taking them longer. In most instances, memory problems can be avoided if you take Ambien only when you're able to get 7 to 8 hours sleep before you need to be active again. Talk to your doctor about Ambien and wake rested and ready to start your day. Ambien works like a dream.
Schwab Street Smart Pro. We're talking a stock screener with 140 criteria to help hone your search. A sector tool that shows which industries are moving. And conditional alerts that trigger automatically. All in one advanced trading platform. All for just $9.95 a trade. Schwab Street Smart Pro. Test drive it now at schwab.com/pro.
There's a new man in charge of the huge relief operation along the Gulf Coast tonight. He is Vice Admiral Thad Allen of the U.S. Coast Guard. He has taken over from FEMA Director Michael Brown, who was recalled to Washington. Gene Meserve reports now from the nation's capital. Gene?
Lou, the thundering criticism of the federal response to Katrina not costing Michael Brown his job, the director of FEMA, at least not at this point, but he is being sent back to Washington, and someone else is being put in charge on the ground. There has been a torrent of criticism relating to the speed, quality, and quantity of FEMA's relief effort, and about Brown, his understanding of the situation, and even his qualifications for his job. Officials say it was Michael Chertoff, the Secretary of Homeland Security, who decided change was necessary, and he made the announcement.
Hurricane Katrina will go down as the largest natural disaster in American history. Mike Brown has done everything he possibly could to coordinate the federal response to this unprecedented challenge. I appreciate his work, as does everybody here.
Replacing Brown as principal federal official is Coast Guard Vice Admiral Thad Allen, who had been acting as Brown's deputy in the response. Chertoff says Allen will help foster a seamless interaction with the military, which is playing a large part in the hurricane recovery. Those who know Allen say he is a no-nonsense individual who can get things done. Lou?
Gene, Michael Chertoff sounded almost as though he was promoting Michael Brown in those terms that he used. What is his likely future?
Well, that's a big question at this point in time. I just talked to an official from the Department of Homeland Security who says, as far as he knows, at this point in time, no letter of resignation has been submitted. He also told me a little bit of the backstory about Chertoff's decision, which was reached last night. He told Brown this morning. He said that Chertoff talked to a lot of people and saw a lot of stuff down there in the Gulf region and was, quote, appalled, unquote, at some of what he saw and heard, including a visit to the Superdome where he pressed issues for answers on the food and water that was
was stocked in there, whether it had been distributed. Didn't get the kind of answers he wanted. As this official said to me, Chertoff is a results kind of guy. Apparently, he thinks that the admiral is going to give him better results than Michael Brown. Lou?
Accountability in government. Remarkable concept. Thank you very much, Gene Meserve. Questions about Michael Brown's competence to lead the hurricane relief effort, just one of the reasons for his recall. There are also serious doubts about his ability to lead FEMA in any other crisis. Elaine Quijano reports now from the White House. Elaine?
Hello, Lou. Well, we are learning a little bit more tonight about what led up to the decision to remove Michael Brown from the disaster zone. My colleagues Dana Bash and John King gathering information that we have learned this past week at a private meeting at the White House on Wednesday. Secretary Chertoff told President Bush that he was considering removing Michael Brown as leader of the FEMA efforts on the ground there. Now, according to a senior administration official, the president told Chertoff, quote, "I trust you as head of Homeland Security, and I support the decisions that you make." Now, of course, Brown has been under fire for what critics say was a sluggish federal response to Hurricane Katrina, but the criticisms have not been confined to Mr. Brown's past performance. Now, when Vice President Dick Cheney toured the disaster zone on Thursday, he got an earful of criticism about Michael Brown. He heard this during meetings with state and local officials, including some Republicans, according to a source familiar with the discussions. Now, those worries reflected not only concerns about Brown's leadership immediately after the hurricane, but his ability to lead current and future efforts. We also learned that his fate was essentially sealed last night when his boss, Secretary Chertoff, called White House Chief of Staff Andy Card to say that he was pulling the FEMA director from the disaster zone and sending him back to Washington. Now, at the same time, of course, questions have continued to swirl about Brown's emergency management experience. And today, in announcing Brown's reassignment, Secretary Chertoff refused to let Brown respond to a direct question.
Is this the first step in Mr. Brown's resignation? Can you answer that, Mr. Brown, please? And also, how do you respond to reports that you embellished your resume? There was a report in Time magazine.
Here are the ground rules. I'm going to answer the questions. I've explained what we're doing. I thought I was about as clear as I possibly could be in English as to what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. Next question.
So the administration clearly not wanting the discussion to center on Michael Brown anymore. Senior administration officials here insist that the president has not asked for, nor has Michael Brown offered his resignation. Aides, though, emphatically pointing out, Lou, they claim that this was a decision initiated by Secretary Chertoff. Lou?
Indeed they do. Secretary Chertoff taking a rather imperious tone there with and not answering the questions either himself nor permitting Brown. What are the answers?
Well, certainly these are the kinds of questions that the Bush administration does not necessarily want to focus on at this point. They are insistent that the president is solving problems, and they also point out that the president essentially is holding Secretary Chertoff responsible for carrying out the decisions as he sees fit based on his own experience, on his own assessments of the situation. But certainly this is a major change. Of course, this administration famous for loyalty, so certainly quite a surprising turn of events. Lou?
Elaine Quijano, thank you very much from the White House. Coming up next here, shortchanging American workers, the very workers who will be rebuilding the Gulf Coast. Why critics are saying a new executive order from President Bush is unfair to those Americans who will rebuild that devastated coast. Our special report on that issue is next. And then Texas has achieved the impossible in helping tens of thousands of refugees rebuild their lives. We'll report on the extraordinary measures in Texas to help displaced American children feel right at home and put them back in school. Don't mess with Texas. We'll have that story. Stay with us.
CNN Primetime tonight at 7. Hurricane Shelter from Hell. A New Orleans doctor takes us back to the New Orleans Convention Center. Then, a CNN Primetime special. The most innocent, most vulnerable victims of Katrina. Children of the Storm at 8. And at 10, 9/11, Hurricane Katrina. How prepared are we for the next possible disaster? CNN Primetime tonight, beginning 7 Eastern.
The Oracle Grid. A group of low-cost servers connected by Oracle software. Now, if a server fails, the grid just keeps running. The Oracle Grid runs faster, costs less, and never breaks.
Last year, Norfolk Southern and its shipping partners took hundreds of thousands of freight loads off the highway. In fact, they've invested millions to convert even more traffic in the coming years. So it's easy to see how the economy won't be the only thing that benefits. Norfolk Southern, the future of transportation.
In 1932, during the darkest days of the Great Depression, the first Stanford company was established. Although times were difficult, Lotus Stanford found success through the simple philosophy of hard work, clear vision, and value for the client. Today, 73 years later, the Stanford Financial Group of companies still adhere to these principles. We build to last. Call us at 1-888-9-STANFORD or visit stanfordfinancial.com.
Mattress World's made a special purchase.
Right now, get a Sealy Firm Plush or Pillow Top Queen Set for just $3.99.
That's right, a Sealy Firm Plush or Pillow Top Queen Set for just $3.99.
Also, get no interest, no payments for 1 full year.
Quantities are limited. When they're gone, they're gone. We can't beat any price on any comparable mattress, and the mattress is free.
It's not too late to sleep like a baby. Mattress World.
Mattress World, 185th and Cornell, next to Burger King.
If you didn't watch Jewelry Television today, you missed.
Have a look at this ring.
A 3.65 carat emerald and 1 1/10 carats in diamonds. My favorite ring in the building in aquamarine.
Dramatic savings on fine jewelry and gemstones all the time.
Magnificent.
Today's show is history, but tomorrow's is a whole different Jewelry Television.
Simply magnificent.
Jewelry Television, changing the way America buys jewelry.
Who is saving Katrina's most helpless victims? The children. Larry King, CNN Tonight.
There is outrage tonight over a presidential decision today that could hurt Gulf Coast workers looking to rebuild their lives and earn a living. President Bush has waived rules that would require federally funded contractors to pay a competitive wage to workers in the cleanup and rebuilding efforts. Critics call this an unfair giveaway to big business trying to profit from the hurricane disaster. Lisa Sylvester has our report.
Tens of thousands of Gulf Coast residents lost everything they owned to Hurricane Katrina. But critics say a new executive order signed by President Bush will push down wages, making it harder for them to rebuild their lives.
Suspension of Davis-Bacon is a shameful, government-sponsored wage race to the bottom for workers. It will allow workers to be exploited at a time whenever they need their government's help the most.
The White House is lifting part of the Davis-Bacon Act, created during the Great Depression. It requires companies receiving federal contracts to pay at least the average wage for the region. Congressional Republicans who support the waiver argue it will save time and money.
It's imperative that we have reconstruction start as quickly as possible, and when we're appropriating over $60 billion and more to come, that we get the very best for the money that American taxpayers have invested in this reconstruction.
Davis-Bacon has been waived before by President Roosevelt for 3 weeks during the New Deal transition, by President Nixon for 1 month in 1971 to reduce inflationary pressure, and by President George H.W. Bush in 1992 after Hurricane Andrew. It was reinstated when President Clinton took office. All short-term waivers. But this order is open-ended. For construction workers in the Gulf region, it means contractors won't even have to meet the average wage of $9 an hour, adding more hurt for the poorest of the poor.
It really is an outrageous situation that the very same people that we saw who were left behind because of their low wages, they didn't have money to put gas in their car to get out of town, they didn't have a car, they didn't have the means to get out of town. Those very same people now have had the wage protections taken away from them.
The AFL-CIO notes that 3 of Florida's largest counties, Miami-Dade, Broward, and Monroe, are included in the president's waiver. And these counties had relatively little storm damage, but yet they're included on the list, and that will affect a number of federal contracts there. Lou?
Do we know just whose idea it was? We know the president takes responsibility and signed it, which is by any standard highly questionable in terms of its impact on the people who have been punished so severely by Katrina. Now to rebuild it, they would have to suffer this indignity as well?
Well, we interviewed one of the people who was one of the point people on Capitol Hill. This was actually generated from Capitol Hill. A letter was sent by a number of members of Congress to the president asking him to waive this act. One of the members is Representative Marilyn Musgrave, who we interviewed in our piece,
Right.
Another Jeff Flake from Arizona. So some more questions to be asked, Lou.
A lot of questions, and the penalty here, obviously, against the very people who need the most help. Lisa Vester, thank you very much. While the president is making it possible for companies to cut wages in the stricken Gulf Coast area, his administration is allowing some federal workers to spend a great deal of money. Under the disaster aid bill passed by Congress, FEMA employees working on recovery can now charge up to $250,000 on their government-issued credit cards, up sharply from the previous limit of $2,500. Lawmakers who fought to take the provision out of that bill cite past instances of workers charging jewelry, stereo equipment, and other personal items to their government cards. That isn't really the issue. The disaster aid bill also allows emergency workers to approve contracts worth up to $250,000 without requiring competitive bidding. That all to the good. Coming up next, the state of Texas is making an extraordinary effort to help tens of thousands of children who've lost their homes in the Gulf Coast. How Texas is setting an example, a can-do example for the entire country. We'll have that special report. And a legal system in chaos after the hurricane. Court records that have been lost, evidence destroyed, prisoners dislocated, records lost as well. Our senior legal analyst, Jeffrey Toobin, will join me with that incredible story. Stay with us.
Be frugal.
Be decisive.
Be opportunistic. Be powerful.
In other words, be extraordinary. Power E-Trade Pro, radically upgraded and now with low pricing for stock and options trades. At E-Trade Financial, we keep challenging the ordinary to help investors be extraordinary.
They are the innocent, the vulnerable, but also the strongest and most resilient. They are the children of the storm. Tonight, hear their stories of loss, courage, and hope. A Paula's On Special, CNN Tonight, 8 Eastern.
Lots of Wi-Fi users work in coffee shops, which aren't always the best places to work. Wouldn't it be great to work wherever you wanted instead of only in hotspots? Now you can with Verizon Wireless Broadband Access. Wi-Fi only works in limited locations, while Broadband Access is the nation's largest, fastest, wide-area wireless broadband network and is expanding coast to coast. Now get unlimited access at a great price, so you won't get stuck in a not-so-hot spot. Verizon Wireless, we never stop working for you.
CNN, the most trusted name in news.
Our Deborah Farrick is monitoring all of the very latest developments along the Gulf Coast and obviously in New Orleans. She joins us now with a report. Deborah?
Well, Lou, status alert on Jefferson Parish. A state congressman from that district tells CNN that electricity, water, and sewage are all on the way to being restored. Power companies working overtime. Some parish officials even believing that schools could be up and running as early as October 3rd, and that is just 3 weeks away. What is less clear is whether families will be able to move back into their homes because of mold or structural damage. Another status alert, body recovery. Thailand appears to have done a better job collecting its dead after the tsunami than the United States following Hurricane Katrina. An expert close to both recovery efforts says FEMA has yet to sign a contract with a private company that FEMA itself called on to gather the dead. A recovery expert tells CNN Kenyon International was on site ready to send out teams and portable morgues. The company was told to go home and wait. The governor, sources telling CNN, very frustrated by the lack of a federally coordinated effort. That's the status report, Lou.
Thank you very much, Deborah, for keeping us right up to date. The United States Post Office today delivered the first mail to New Orleans. Evacuees who are living at the Houston Astrodome. An estimated 8,600 evacuees are there. The Post Office designated a special zip code for the Astrodome, 77230. Officials have also set up a makeshift post office at the Dome. Also today, thousands of evacuees waiting in line for debit cards. Those debit cards issued by FEMA and the Red Cross. The cards are worth up to $2,000. FEMA officials say they are processing cards for 500 families each hour. In addition to the Astrodome, the entire state of Texas is playing a critical role in helping the displaced families try to return to some sort of normalcy. Tens of thousands of children have been welcomed into the Texas school system already. Kitty Pilgrim reports.
Dressed up, name tags on, hair done up in bows, smiles, and some obvious apprehension. Katrina's kids are going back to school, and Texas is getting it done no matter what. Texas school administrators say 21,115 children who have escaped from the flood have started schools in Texas. Not just in Houston, but in districts big and small, some as far away as Midland. Texas has dropped the class ratio requirements of 22-1 and has put through one-year emergency certification for out-of-state teachers. Out-of-work New Orleans bus drivers have even been hired to pick up the extra routes. A tough time made better by good organization and determination.
Well, this is going to be her first day being away from me since we've been through in New Orleans.
Secretary of Education Margaret Spellings has made it clear she will do whatever it takes to salvage the school year for the estimated 300,000 displaced children and is working on a plan to help states pay for the cost of absorbing new students. It's still unclear how testing standards will be addressed.
We don't want to write off this school year because we know that, these kids need to get back into some sort of normalcy. It's good for them educationally, emotionally.
During a visit to the region, First Lady Laura Bush, herself a librarian and teacher, this week emphasized that a stable school environment can help heal psychological scars. But in Texas, the psychological benefits for the children are already apparent, and the dreams can go on.
I want to be a nurse to help people.
Well, on Capitol Hill this week, New Orleans administrators met with Congress to talk about money and support for their districts. But Texas State Department of Education said they're working it out with their own state funds for the time being, already putting in hotlines for parents to find out where to register, another for the new teachers to find out what districts need more help. Lou, it's amazing.
I have to say that this is the most impressive performance by the state government of the state of Texas, the local governments, Houston, all of the other cities, the Department of Education in Texas, but those local school districts are really showing the rest of us how it should be done.
And it's statewide. It's not just big, wealthy districts. It's small ones, too.
Outstanding. Way to go, Texas. Way to go, Texans. Be sure to watch Paula Zahn now tonight for a special report on the youngest and most innocent victims of this hurricane, the children of the storm. 8 p.m. Eastern here on CNN. Rescuers stepped up their efforts today to save the hundreds, perhaps thousands of animals still trapped in New Orleans. Animal rescue groups are now going door to door to rescue abandoned pets. They say they have picked up more than 900 abandoned pets since the storm ended, but they say time is running out as they try to save dogs, cats, and other pets that remain in homes. The National Guard says it is also trying to save those pets. Also tonight, animals that survived Katrina in the New Orleans aquarium are being flown to other aquariums all across the country. Among those animals, a 250-pound giant sea turtle, 2 southern sea otters, and 19 penguins. In the midst of Hurricane Katrina's massive destruction and the chaos that has followed are court records that have been lost altogether and prisoners dislocated and mountains of records and evidence simply ruined by the flood. In the aftermath of the hurricane, the legal system is slowly trying to come to life. Our senior legal analyst, Jeffrey Toobin, is here now to tell us all about it. Jeffrey?
Lou, there really is no precedent for this kind of destruction, so every possible solution is a new solution. One idea, move the New Orleans courts wholesale to another city, even another state. We've learned today that Georgia's Fulton County has volunteered, and they are in talks to bring as many as 1,000 court personnel to Atlanta.
The idea would be to get them on their feet in our courthouse. They don't have offices, they don't have telephones, they don't have support system. We could double up, we could bring them in and let them start putting their court back together from here.
But even if judges and courts move, it's not clear what would happen even in a new location. Jury trials with non-Louisiana juries, criminal trials if evidence has been lost, civil trials if witnesses have moved or died or can't be found. It's a new legal world on the Gulf Coast, Lou, and no one knows what the rules are yet.
It is. It's just one of those things that not many of us have been focusing on. The prisoners, in one instance, the Greyhound bus station used as temporary quarters for prisoners there in New Orleans.
And they don't even know what all those prisoners are charged with. You know, there are no records for a lot of these people.
And setting the civil courts aside, because at least that seems manageable. But the criminal proceedings, in which, as you say, evidence, and lots of it has been lost altogether, what happens?
Well, I think the state of Louisiana is going to have to dismiss some of these cases, because if you have a piece of physical evidence, say a glass with a fingerprint on it, no defendant is going to stipulate and say, well, you know, it really was my fingerprint on that glass, so you don't have to prove it. They are entitled to the standard of proof beyond a reasonable doubt, and if the evidence isn't there, they're going to have to, I think, dismiss or plea bargain or somehow make sure these cases aren't tried, because they can't be tried.
Is there any precedent for what New Orleans is experiencing here?
You know, I looked and I don't think so. I mean, the last time there was this kind of wholesale destruction was 1906 in the San Francisco earthquake, and, you know, things have changed so much that it really isn't a relevant comparison. So I think the simple answer is no, no.
You know, it's fascinating, and thank you, Jeffrey. As you say, things have changed so much, but it's also instructive to think back to San Francisco, 1906, all of the talk about the looting that's taken place in New Orleans, the shooting. It's easy to forget, in 1906, the mayor had to bring in the army to shut down looting and to take order over a city that within a matter of hours was gripped by unrest, civil unrest. Jeffrey, thank you very much. Great insight. U.S. Marines helping with relief operations today received help from an unlikely source, the Mexican Marine Corps. Nearly 200 Mexican Marines today landed near Biloxi, Mississippi from a U.S. landing craft. Their first mission is to clean up badly damaged schools. The Mexican Marines landed one day after a Mexican military convoy loaded with relief supplies arrived in Texas. This is the first time, by the way, that Mexican troops, soldiers and Marines, have advanced so far into the United States since the Mexican-American War of 1846. Still ahead, embattled FEMA Director Michael Brown recalled to Washington. Vice Admiral Thad Allen, he takes his place as Director of Relief Operations in the Gulf. We'll have more on the shakeup. I'll be joined by the country's top political journalists as we assess the week's developments. And 2 million illegal aliens in California are one step closer to obtaining U.S. driver's licenses tonight. We'll have that special report, and we'll tell you what Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger says he will do about it. Stay with us.
Who would ever think that the waste we generate could generate enough green energy to power an entire community? Who would think that neighborhood playing fields could share common ground with a working landfill? We would. We're Waste Management, and we're partnering with communities to create places we can all be proud to call home. From everyday collection to environmental protection, think green, think Waste Management.
The Oracle Grid, a group of low-cost servers connected by Oracle software. Now, if a server fails, the grid just keeps running. The Oracle Grid runs faster, costs less, and never breaks.
Sharp multifunction products transform the office by adding enhanced color to your documents. Then Sharp technology doubled your productivity by scanning two-sided documents in a single pass. Now Sharp's Data Security Kit is transforming the office again by preventing unauthorized access to information while keeping sensitive digital documents from falling into the wrong hands. The Sharp Digital Imager Series, all the productivity you want, all the document security you need.
Last year, Norfolk Southern and its shipping partners took hundreds of thousands of freight loads off the highway. In fact, they've invested millions to convert even more traffic in the coming years. So it's easy to see how the economy won't be the only thing that benefits. Norfolk Southern, the future of transportation.
It's time lenders treated people with respect. That's why eLoan offers home equity loans with faster responses and rates as low as 5.49%. Those are some of the revolutionary ways we're changing the lending industry. eLoan, radically simple.
You're about to see a meeting of one of the most powerful financial organizations in the world. It's backed by the resources and the credit rating of the world's largest wealth management firm. And it's meeting today to answer the most important question on its agenda.
So how am I doing?
Wealth management at UBS. From wealth preservation to lending and investment. You and us. UBS.
In New Orleans tonight, military helicopters are flying huge sandbags weighing 3,000 pounds each, a ton and a half, to the scene of two breached New Orleans levees. The city's Industrial and London Avenue levees remain breached tonight, and work obviously going on to shore them up. Helicopters from across the country are arriving by the hour in New Orleans, carrying supplies and emergency personnel, including this chopper from Los Angeles. More than 5 million meals ready to eat MREs are on their way to the Gulf Coast tonight. 21 million MREs have already been delivered, along with more than 31 million liters of water. And new fires to report tonight in New Orleans. Firefighters say water pressure is slowly returning to the city, however, and they say the threat of accidental fires will diminish once all residents are out of their homes. But the fire threat from broken underground gas lines remains, they say, very high. 4 years ago this weekend, on September 11th, 2001, a united American public demanded and received strong leadership from our elected leaders. But this standard of leadership has not been met in this disaster on our Gulf Coast. Bill Snyder reports.
Muslim countries.
After 9/11, there was anger.
Our grief has turned to anger, and anger to resolution.
After Katrina, there's shock.
How could this have happened in America?
9/11 was an attack by a foreign enemy.
There's an old poster out west, as I recall, that said, "Wanted, dead or alive."
Katrina was a failure of American government.
The situation is so different. It looks the same because you've got loss of life and destruction, etc. But with 9/11, you could focus on a clear and present enemy.
9/11 saw leaders emerge and take charge.
Come with us.
Katrina saw a vacuum of leadership at the state and local level.
There's no Rudy Giuliani in this story, and we need somebody like that.
And no George W. Bush of 9/11 either. The country came together after 9/11, us versus them. The country came together after Katrina, too, with an outpouring of sympathy and generosity. Politically, however, the country is divided. It's us against us, Democrats versus Republicans.
This is a government that has to be accountable to the people of our country.
Republicans versus Democrats.
The time for bickering and blame gaming is later.
And the most dangerous division of all, race.
We cannot allow it to be said by history that the difference between those who lived and those who died in this great storm and flood of 2005 was nothing more than poverty, age, or skin color.
Why the political division now? We asked a Democrat who served on the 9/11 Commission.
We had an external threat. Here, it feels like an internal threat.
Moreover, Bob Kerrey said, something happened between 9/11 and Katrina.
The intervening event is the Iraq War, and a significant amount of distrust has occurred as a consequence.
9/11 shifted the nation's agenda to national security for the last 4 years. Katrina has shifted it back to domestic issues, but we don't know how long that'll last. The U.S. is still in Iraq, and the terrorists are still out there. Lou?
Yeah, Bill, I think Bob Kerrey makes a very good point. I'm not certain I would agree that it was the war in Iraq, but rather the fact that this weekend will solemnly commemorate September 11th and those who died on that day. But the fact is, 4 years later, that we would have this kind of unacceptable response to a disaster, obviously a natural disaster. When the Homeland Security Department has been set up, all of the organization has been put together, and billions of dollars spent, and this is the kind of response we see to what happens to our fellow citizens. The subtext here is we're no better prepared today than we were 4 years ago to respond to disaster.
And we see that in the polling, Lou. We asked Americans, CBS News asked Americans this week if they feel confident the government can protect them from a terrorist threat. And the number who say yes has dropped very sharply over the past few months.
Bill Snyder, thank you very much.
Sure.
First Lady Laura Bush says remarks by Democratic National Committee Chairman Howard Dean on race and the hurricane disaster are, in her word, disgusting. The First Lady says Dean and rapper Kanye West are wrong to blame President Bush for the large number of African Americans hurt by this disaster. Howard Dean said in an interview today on our Situation Room that he stands by his comments.
I do not think
that this president cares about everybody in America. I'm sure the president is a nice man on a personal level. His policies have been devastating to middle class and poor people in this country, white, black, and brown.
Dean also said the Senate should reject the nomination of Supreme Court Chief Justice nominee John Roberts. Dean saying he doubts Roberts cares about the American people. Tonight in Newsmakers, 3 of the country's best political journalists join me with their insight. From Washington, Time Magazine national political correspondent Karen Tumulty, Ron Brownstein, senior Washington correspondent, Los Angeles Times. From San Francisco tonight, Roger Simon, the political editor of U.S. News and World Reporter. Good to have you all here. Let's start right now, Karen, moving out Michael Brown. Does that solve the issue for President Bush?
Oh, I think it solves an issue for President Bush, because Michael Brown really had become the sort of face of incompetence in this crisis. But the fact is that there are a lot of structural problems in this system that have really prevented aid from getting where it needs to go when it needs to get there. And so I think this is not going to be even close to the end of the questions of this administration.
The stories, even anecdotally, Ron, of FEMA's performance here, from initial response to actually obstruction and outright negligence in some cases, are simply unbelievable.
They are astounding, and as you mentioned, they're especially astounding 4 years after 9/11, after we spent billions of dollars, undergone the largest restructuring of the national security bureaucracy since World War II to create the Department of Homeland Security. And I think the subtext of all of this is the shock that Americans feel that after 4 years of being told that we were on war footing, we turned out to be on the wrong foot here. And so I agree with Karen that this is the first step in what is going to be a long debate about what FEMA should look like, and indeed, on a whole series of fronts, what the federal response should be to catastrophic events of this magnitude.
Roger, as the political editor, let me ask you, the focus on Mayor Nagin, Governor Blanco, the removal of Brown from this equation is going to put the focus squarely on them and for what has been their, at best, clumsy and ineffectual response as well.
I think there's plenty of blame to go around, and I think they are going to take some blame. But I think at the end of the day, people are going to wonder why the federal government didn't do better. I understand that presidents put political cronies and political hacks in political jobs. They used to dump them in the post office department. But surely someone somewhere in the Bush administration should have paused at some point and said, you don't put cronies and hacks in the Federal Emergency Management Agency.
Why, I guess I would ask all three of you, why not? I mean, we're in a global war on terror, yet we have 3 million illegal aliens crossing our borders. There's no border security in this country. There's just a lot of talk and PR scam. We have just approaching a $40 billion budget for Homeland Security, and our first responders are not adequately provided for. And everybody sort of winks and nods and say this is just the way it is. There's an apathy, not only in terms of the critical national media, but a broader apathy on the part of the American people.
Well, look, there are a lot of dimensions to the Homeland Security challenge, Lou, and I think that, what we've seen here is that there are, I think as Karen said, I mean, there are real sort of structural holes in the way that the response is put together. And there are real questions. Look, there were questions at the time whether aggregating all of these agencies together under one roof in Department of Homeland Security would increase coordination or simply increase bureaucratic confusion. And right now, on the first major test with the first major agency we're looking at, I think most people are going to side with the latter. And that's going to lead, I think, to a lot of not only finger pointing, but more constructive, serious questioning.
Karen, Howard Dean saying that race played a deadly role in this recovery effort, basically accusing the administration and the agencies of racism and in terms of the slowness and the inadequacy of the response.
Well, you could not have turned on your television and not notice the fact that the vast majority of people who were displaced by this disaster were not white. But I do think that the Democrats are really running some risk here, because certainly all the polling, our own polling coming out over this weekend, suggests that Americans do not want to see this crisis played politics with. And I think that in both sides, they're going to have to be very, very careful
Roger,
in trying to make this a political issue.
Roger, race in this disaster and the bickering, the finger pointing, the whatever you want to call it, between Republicans, the partisan cross-counter charges. Race, though, is both. It seems to me absolutely wrong. 70% of the city is black. There's no question that poverty played a role here. But race, Roger?
Race and class and how much you earn for a living are all inextricably linked in America. Who did not own a car in New Orleans? Who did not have credit cards? Who did not have ATM cards?
That's a different question,
so
Roger.
They were likely to leave their house.
Roger,
well,
that's a different question. Because we're talking about race. We're not talking about socioeconomic class here. The word race by the Howard Dean and others. That's what we have to deal with.
But I think Howard Dean linked race and socioeconomic status together. I don't think he ever said that the federal response was slow because it was black people who were suffering the most in New Orleans. I think his answer was a little more textural than that. And I don't believe it was slow because it was mainly black people, but I believe that those in a condition of working poverty probably could not leave the city.
Do you mean that to tell me that we are awakening as the national media to the fact that there is a disproportionate number of blacks in our society today in 2005 who are poor and disadvantaged, that it took a hurricane and a disaster like this to awaken our sensibilities?
I think we knew it. What we weren't prepared for was to get people out of the city who couldn't get out of the city on their own.
Lou, the census put out its annual report on poverty and income only a few days before the hurricane, and I didn't see it leading many newspapers in America. We have sort of become inured to these numbers.
We reported it here.
We have, I think, overall as a society, we have become somewhat inured to these numbers, and this sort of puts it in front of you
it's
in
more
a
than
very
that.
visible
Ron,
and direct
let me
way
ask you
that
something.
haven't seen very
Both
often.
parties have sold out to corporate supremacists and corporate America. We have just seen the president use roll back Davis-Bacon so that the very people are going to rebuild the Gulf Coast will not be paid the prevailing wage.
These are not unsolvable problems. You know, Lou, in the 1990s, we had the biggest reduction in poverty that we've had since the 1960s. I believe it was about 8 million fewer people in poverty.
We didn't do it by rolling back Davis-Bacon, partner.
But the reality is that, you know, we can make a dent on social problems in America when we focus on them. And one of the things that natural disasters do is they rearrange the deck. They force you to deal with issues that may have been submerged. Poverty, we'll see how long it lasts, could be one of them, and there will be others. But there's no doubt that the agenda after this will look a little different than the agenda before it.
We got a different agenda, Karen, but are we going to see anything improve here when you have the first reflex is a bureaucracy that doesn't work in the federal government, a black mayor, a black power structure in New Orleans doesn't take care of its own by Howard Dean's definition, a Louisiana governor can't even make a decision to call out the National Guard and get help now?
I think that what you are going to see is a real focus on coordination. I mean, the fact is that in some states today, the governors are absolutely overwhelmed with evacuees, and there are other states today, this afternoon, where governors have thousands of beds sitting there empty, waiting for people to come. Its coordination is a major part of this problem, and I think it's going to be one of the first things that needs to get fixed.
You know what I love? Big words like coordination, Latin derivatives, and the state of Texas goes out and gets it done. Those kids, 300,000 of them, the refugees from this storm, dislocated, disadvantaged further. Texas is really doing something and not whining about federal money or doing anything else, just getting it done. And that's a great message for all of us. And it's great to have you guys to join us for the end of this week. We thank you very much. Karen Tumulty, Ron Brownstein, Roger Simon, thank you. Still ahead, California lawmakers vote to give driver's licenses to millions of illegal aliens in that state. Will Governor Schwarzenegger allow it? We'll have a special report coming up next. Stay with us.
Privacy, equality, the right to choose. Fundamental freedoms Americans have cherished for generations. But John Roberts dismisses one of our established liberties as the so-called right to privacy, and co-wrote a brief arguing that Roe v. Wade should be overruled. Roberts' legal record raises questions on whether he accepts the right to privacy. There's just too much at stake to let John Roberts become a decisive vote on the Supreme Court.
CNN Monday. Chief Justice nominee John Roberts faces the Senate. Get live updates on the hearings with Wolf Blitzer from CNN Situation Room. CNN Monday, 12 noon.
You can really see the difference at Willamette View, Portland's premier accredited senior retirement community. You'll love the lifestyle and views from its landscaped acreage on the Willamette River. A variety of activities, social, cultural, and wellness programs. The vitality of this senior community is unique and vibrant, like no other. Come see the difference for yourself. Come see why Willamette View got its name.
You wish you could do in real life. Now you can do at VX.com. Roadmap to the automotive world.
Shopping for a new home? Did you know that in the time it takes you to drive to just one house, you could visit 100 without leaving your home? Coldwell Banker Barbara Sue Seal Properties introduces a better way to shop. Find your new home on TV or online, anytime. Hundreds and hundreds of dream homes are now just a click away. On Channel 15 or at cbseal.com. Coldwell Banker Barbara Sue Seal Properties. Discover the joy of home shopping from home.
Right now, Oregon kids are becoming better readers thanks to the efforts of the Portland New Car Dealers Association. Through their partnership with Operation Outreach, your local new car dealers help get books to kids who don't have books at home. Teachers are getting supplemental training materials, and Oregon kids are getting a chance to succeed and excel. Feels good to know our kids benefit from the generous support of the Metro Portland New Car Dealers, Operation Outreach, and Comcast Cable, making a difference for Oregon's kids.
Remarkable new 9/11 stories and all new CNN Sunday night, 8 Eastern.
California's legislature has just made another attempt to give driver's licenses to illegal aliens. State lawmakers have also passed a bill to allow gay marriage. Neither effort is favored by a majority of voters in California. Now it's up to Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger to decide whether to uphold the will of the people. Casey Wyan reports.
Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger is again all that stands between illegal aliens and driver's licenses in California. That after adjourning state lawmakers rushed to pass a new version of the illegal alien driver's license measure under the double cover of darkness and media attention focused on Hurricane Katrina. California State Senator One Bill Gil Cedillo has been pushing and tinkering with his driver's license legislation for years. This time it contained so many concessions to opponents, even some members of the illegal alien lobby withdrew their support. But it passed anyway, and the governor now faces a decision.
One of the things that we're going to veto is the driver's license for undocumented immigrants, simply because it does not do what I ask Senator Cedillo to do, which is to make sure that we know who the people are.
Another concern, the governor says it's premature for the state to okay driver's licenses for illegal aliens before the federal government implements the Real ID Act. He also says the bill does not adequately address public safety concerns. What he didn't mention is his approval rating has sunk into the mid-30% range, and a recent field poll shows 81% of Californians are either extremely or somewhat concerned about illegal immigration. The legislature also rushed through another controversial bill sanctioning gay marriage. Though the governor is sympathetic to the cause, he promises to veto that measure as well, out of what he calls respect for the will of the people.
The legislature has failed to address the problems that California faces. While the legislature is passing bills for same-sex marriage or driver's licenses for illegal immigrants, we're not addressing the major problems that the people of California care about.
5 years ago, California voters approved a measure defining marriage as between a man and a woman. And voters are what all of this seemingly bizarre legislative activity is all about. Democrats are trying to undermine the governor's special election in November, and the governor is trying to keep his re-election campaign, expected to be announced next week, alive. Lou?
And Casey, the Real ID Act, this looks like a flat-out attempt to circumvent it.
Well, Gil Cedillo was trying to delay this bill, the driver's license bill he was proposing. He actually put in a provision that would have delayed the implementation of it until the Real ID Act took effect. So he tried to address those concerns, but the governor's not going to stand for it, Lou.
Thank you very much, Casey Wyatt. Still ahead, a preview of our broadcast Monday. Stay with us.
Active traders, call now for Schwab Street Smart Pro. Our advanced trading platform, we're talking conditional alerts that trigger automatically to help you cut losses and lock in profits. Real-time streaming news and level 2 quotes to keep you on top of the market. A sector tool for a top-down view of industries on the move. And a stock screener with 140 criteria to help you hone your search. All for just $9.95 a trade. Switch to Schwab now. And for every online trade you make, you'll get 1 commission-free, unlimited for 60 days. So call the number on your screen now and get it all. Schwab Street Smart Pro. Online equity trades for just $9.95 each. And for every online trade you make, you'll get 1 commission-free. Plus, you'll get 30 days of Market Edge research free just for calling. But this offer ends soon. Call 1-800-790-3801 now.
She's called her deepness because no woman has spent more time underwater studying marine ecosystems.
There's a symphony of life down there, but there are energy resources too, and Kerr-McGee leads the way.
With new spar technology that can float in, recover resources, then sail away. Energy our country needs.
With care our oceans deserve.
Nobody rules and respects the deep water like the explorers of Kerr-McGee.
Judith Miller, the Pulitzer Prize-winning New York Times reporter, has now been in prison for 65 days for protecting her confidential sources in the White House CIA leak case. Thanks for being with us tonight. Have a very good weekend. Please join us next week. For all of us here, good night from New York. Anderson Cooper 360 starts right now. Anderson?
Lou, thanks very much. Have a good weekend. Good evening, everyone. We are at a Red Cross shelter in Baton Rouge. Earlier today in this city, a big announcement. There is a new man in charge of the hurricane recovery effort, and FEMA's